Chapter 1290. In the banquet hall of the city lord's residence, many beautiful dragon man maids were busy, constantly coming out of the kitchen with delicious food, and there were also many women serving at the side, looking like they were living a luxurious life. In fact, if a dynasty had been strong for too long and there were no foreign enemies, the upper echelons would basically be in a state of corruption. After all, they had nothing else to do but enjoy themselves. At this time, City Lord Batik of Dragonhorn City said, "Today, I have gathered everyone here for no other reason than to discuss the Dragon Man must-kill order recently issued by the Great Emperor. I believe that everyone knows the benefits of the Dragon Man must-kill order. If it can be completed, the Great Emperors will grant one wish, no matter what it is, even if it is to become the Emperor of the Dragon Man Kingdom." Hearing this, many Dragon Man kings' eyes lit up, and they were extremely tempted. This was the supreme benefit of the Dragon Man must-kill order. Once it was completed, they could obtain many benefits from the Great Emperor, which was why countless Dragon Men would rush to kill the enemies on the Dragon Man must-kill order in a frenzy. Of course, becoming an emperor is just a small matter. For us Dragon Man kings, power and status are at our fingertips, and it is nothing at all. Only becoming a great emperor is our eternal pursuit. Batik clenched his fists. This was the desire of all Dragon Man kings. Because completing the Dragon Man must-kill order could obtain the wishes of the great emperors, they could also be enlightened by the 6 great emperors of the Dragon Man race and help them break through the bottleneck. With the full help of the great emperors, experts at the pinnacle of the king level would have a 30% higher chance of breaking through, which was much better than any treasure. In fact, the birth of the 6th Dragon Man Great Emperor was because he had completed the Dragon Man must-kill order mission and obtained the enlightenment of the 5 great emperors, allowing him to truly break through to the emperor level. This also gave all the Dragon Men who were stuck at the pinnacle of the king level a glimmer of hope to break through. As long as they completed the Dragon Man must-kill order, they would have a chance to step into the emperor level. Don't worry, City Lord Batik, we all know why you called us here. You just want to gather our strength to help you kill the human Xiaoping, and after the deed is done, you will give us a lot of benefits and things like that. We're tired of hearing these things. That's right, City Lord Batik. You've always taken care of us. If we don't help you at the critical moment, who will? That's right. If City Lord Batik can become a great emperor, it will be of great benefit to the family behind us. It's just killing a puny human. What's the big deal? That's right, that's right. With us around, it's just child's play. The great emperor is simply giving the city lord an opportunity. The Draconian kings shouted and patted their chests to show their loyalty. However, there were also many Draconian kings whose eyes flickered, each with their own ulterior motives. In truth, they were also planning to act at the crucial moment and chop off the human Xiaoping's head to complete their own mission. After all, Bardic was not the only one who wanted to become a great emperor. All of them had the same thought. How could watching others become great emperors compare to becoming great emperors himself? Of course, they would not say these plans out loud. After all, they still needed City Lord Batik's influence to gather so many Draconian kings to complete the plan to kill the human Xiaoping. Good, very good. It's not in vain that I've treated you all so well. I believe that with your help, this plan will definitely succeed. Bardic laughed heartily. He was in a very good mood. He could almost see himself becoming the great emperor of the dragon people, a transcendent existence that stood above countless Draconian people. Report. At this moment, a Draconian soldier rushed into the banquet hall and quickly came to the City Lord's side. He shouted, "City Lord, there's an urgent military report." "Urgent military report? What's the matter?" Bardic frowned. He knew that these soldiers would not ignore his orders and barge into the banquet hall if they did not have a very important report. "The 3 commanders have sent a distress signal from outside the city. It's very urgent." The Draconian soldier immediately said, "The report shows that experts of the human race are coming. Now the 3 commanders are dead, and even thousands of elite Draconian soldiers have been annihilated. A large number of human slaves have been rescued. Experts of the human race are coming?" Which mongrel human has the guts to come to my dragon horn city and make trouble? Is he tired of living? Bardic flew into a rage when he heard this. Dragonhorn City was the gateway to Dragon God City, and could be said to be under the feet of the Emperor. It was naturally a very honorable position to become the city lord of Dragonhorn City, and many draconian kings wanted to get it. But the greater the honor, the greater the responsibility. If something happened to Dragonhorn City, then Bardic, would most likely lose his head. It's a human race's Xiaoping. The draconian soldier stammered. What? The draconian kings present were all stunned. They never thought that they would hear this name from the draconian soldier. They had planned to hunt Xiaoping down all over the world. But now he had come straight to their door and even came to Dragonhorn City. They did not need to look for him at all. What an arrogant human. Bardic flew into a rage. Everyone knows that the draconian race has issued a must-kill order and that he has become a target of the draconian race. Why didn't he obediently hide in the sacred city of the human race like a coward and not come out for the rest of his life? That bastard actually dared to come to Dragonhorn City and attack us. How bold is he? The draconian kings nodded. They had never seen such an arrogant human in their lives, and they had never seen a human who dared to attack Dragonhorn City. This was unprecedented in the countless years of the draconian race's history. After all, who did not know that Dragonhorn City and Dragon God City were dangerous places? Who would dare to come to their deaths? The draconian soldier continued. He is not just arrogant. It seems that Xiaoping of the human race wants to attack Dragon God City and compete with the great emperors. CKM. Bardic was furious and immediately cursed. He wants to enter Dragon God City? What does he think Dragonhorn City is? Is it his backyard that he can come and go as he pleases? If he dares to come to Dragonhorn City, I will immediately make him bleed. If he wanted to go to Dragon God City, he had to trample Dragonhorn City. In other words, the draconian kings of Dragonhorn City were useless and could not stop him at all. As the draconian kings, they were all extremely arrogant. How could they stand such contempt? Boom! At this moment, the entire Dragonhorn City shook violently, as if a magnitude 9 earthquake had occurred. The draconian kings of the city, lords' residents, felt the violent tremors. Everything on the dining table was shaken to the point that it fell to the ground. What the hell is happening? Bardic was furious. Chapter 1291. The city gate has been kicked in, and an enemy has invaded? City Lord Bardic felt as though his head was about to explode when he heard this. Ever since the Dragonhorn City was built, there had never been a history of an enemy breaking through its city gate. No, there had never even been a history of an enemy invasion. It was terrifyingly safe. It could be said that the Dragonhorn City was known as one of the safest cities of the dragon human race. It was the last fortress that guarded the headquarters of the dragon human race, and was known as the holy city in the eyes of the dragon human race. But now, such a holy city had been invaded by a human, and the city gate had been kicked in. This was an unprecedented serious situation that was enough to shake the entire dragon human race. For the city lord of the Dragonhorn City, this was a huge stain on the glorious history of the city, enough to make countless dragon human elders impeach him, and he might be imprisoned for hundreds of years before he could come out. The other dragon human kings also turned pale with fright. They also knew that this was no trivial matter. It was not only about the Dragonhorn City, but also a major event that concerned the entire dragon human race. If even the Dragonhorn City, known as the last fortress of the dragon human race, could be easily broken through by the human race, then where else would the dragon human race be safe? As the commanders of the Dragonhorn City, they absolutely could not escape this crime. Where is that Xiaoping of the human race? I will go and kill him immediately. City Lord Bartik almost roared, his face extremely ferocious, and no one could imagine how angry he was at this moment. City Lord, he is at the city gate. That demon is at the city gate, and now countless of our brothers have been killed and injured. Countless have been killed and injured. The dragon human soldier was terrified, and when he recalled the scene just now, he shuddered, as though his courage as a dragon human had disappeared completely in front of that demon of the human race. This was not as simple as a living creature, but a creature of another dimension, like an ant in front of an elephant, which could not be shaken at all. No matter how they attacked that human, he was fine, but he could trample them to death with just one foot. "Go kill him!" Batik gave a loud shout and gave the order. Swoosh! 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 Immediately, the hundreds of dragon-human kings at the banquet immediately moved, flying in the direction of the city gate at an extremely fast speed, producing a piercing sound. They were almost using all their strength. Before long, they arrived at the city gate. Oh my God! When Bardic saw this scene, his eyes widened so much that they were about to pop out of their sockets, and even his heart was bleeding. It was originally several hundred meters tall, and its entire body was made from the precious metals of the dragon human race. It was incomparably majestic, and it had not fallen for tens of thousands of years. It could be said to be the city gate of Dragonhorn City. In order to build this city gate, the dragon human race had paid a huge price, and it could be said to be a waste of manpower and resources. Such a precious city gate had already been trampled into pieces by that brute of a human and was now lying on the ground. There was even a strange, round creature about the size of a soccer ball that was happily munching on the fragments of the city gate. It even made chewing noises as if it was very happy. In just a short while, half of the towering city gate fragments had disappeared into the strange creature's stomach. Who knew how this football-sized creature could eat so much? Could it be that there was a dimensional space bag in its stomach? Seeing this, the faces of the Dragonoid kings turned green. Originally, they had planned to smelt the city gate and piece it back together after driving away the human. Perhaps it could even be restored to its original state and be used as a facade. But now they had no such plans. They had all been eaten by that detestable creature. What infuriated them the most was that there were countless elite Dragonoid soldiers lying on the ground. They were all lying on the ground, foaming at the mouth, and it was unknown whether they were dead or alive. It was a scene of corpses strewn all over the ground. And among these people, the only one who was still standing was that human, Xiaoping. Human! Bardic roared and stared at Xiaoping. How dare you cause trouble in my Dragonhorn city and injure so many of my soldiers? What exactly do you want to do here? He forcibly suppressed his anger and did not act rashly. After all, no matter how he thought about it, a human who had single-handedly barged into Dragonhorn City. If it were anyone else, perhaps they would have lost their minds and gone mad. But this person was a human expert who had killed hundreds of Dragonoid kings, so he had no choice but to be cautious. He even suspected that this was a plot of the human race. This also made him not dare to act rashly, lest he fell into the trap of the human race. "I'm passing by." Xiaoping uttered these two words indifferently. Passing by. The group of Dragonoid kings was stunned, barging into Dragonhorn City, smashing the city gate that had not fallen for 10,000 years with one kick, and injuring a large number of Dragonoid soldiers, just because he was passing by, and blocking the way a hindrance. Xiaoping continued with these 6 words. "Hindrance my ass." Hearing this, Bardic was so angry that his nostrils were snorting. "Human, you're going to die today. I don't care what you're doing in Dragonhorn City today, or what tricks the human race has up their sleeves. But if you dare to come to Dragonhorn City to cause trouble today, you can only walk in and go out lying on your back." He roared wildly, his voice like the roar of a war drum, shaking the whole city. Even among the many Dragonoid kings, Bardic was an absolute expert, and was reputed to be the most promising existence to step into the great Emperor realm. That was why he could stand against the majority, defeat countless competitors, and seize the position of City Lord of Dragonhorn City. Once upon a time, he was also a god of slaughter on the battlefield. The heads of the creatures he chopped off were enough to build a 1,000-meter-tall mountain. His murderous aura was so terrifying that it was almost tangible. "Go kill this human." Bardic had no intention of fighting Xiaoping alone. This was Dragonhorn City, one of the giant cities of the Dragonoid race. There were hundreds of Dragonoid kings and millions of Dragonoid warriors. Furthermore, every citizen of Dragonhorn City was a soldier. If he wanted to, he could mobilize all the Dragonoid people in Dragonhorn City and use a human wave tactic against Xiaoping, drowning him in a sea of people. He believed that no matter how powerful this kid was, as long as he had not stepped into the Great Emperor realm, he would only end up in Dragonhorn City with a grievance. Xiaoping's expression was very indifferent. At his level, the human wave tactic was already useless against him. He was now a tactical nuclear missile, the kind that could explode countless times. In the nuclear age, even if the ordinary human army reached millions or tens of millions, how could they withstand the explosion of thousands of nuclear bombs? It was nothing more than a few nuclear bombs exploding to annihilate all the ordinary people. Remarkable ability, 8 heavenly dragon music. Xiaoping stood where he was and immediately used this supreme sound wave. Remarkable ability. Woo, goo, ba, ma, ah, 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 ah. Chapter 1292. Vaguely, the 8 syllables transformed into 8 magical talismans. Like musical cymbals, it was as if a heavenly dragon was roaring, and the waves of sound seeped into every corner of Dragonhorn City. Soon, all the Dragonians in Dragonhorn City heard the roar of the heavenly dragon. They immediately felt a heartfelt fear, as if they had encountered a superior species. This was the natural suppression of their bloodline, and it was as if they had encountered a king who ruled over them. For these Dragonians, they only had a trace of dragon bloodline and could not compare to a real giant dragon. Therefore, once they encountered a giant dragon, none of them had the strength to resist. Bam! 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 Immediately, the weaker Dragonians of Dragonhorn City were knocked unconscious on the ground, foaming at the mouth, and their eyes rolled back. They passed out completely. Millions of elite soldiers could not resist either, and all of them fainted. Only a few of them could stand up. Even the kings of the Dragonians felt that their bodies were on the verge of collapse, as if a part of their strength had disappeared. They could not stop trembling and shivering. They felt a trace of fear from the depths of their hearts, and seemed to be so frightened that they could only crawl on the ground. If they had not advanced to the divine realm, and their divine senses were very powerful, they would have followed in the footsteps of the other Dragonian soldiers, and could not resist at all. All right, do you still have a numerical advantage now? Xiaoping stood with his hands clasped behind his back, looking calmly at the kings of the Dragonians in front of him. Although using the 8 heavenly dragons' music to stun all the Dragonians in the city required a lot of his magical power, his magical power was more than 100 times that of a cultivator at the pinnacle of the divine realm of the same level. This bit of consumption was nothing at all, and he could immediately recover with just a little bit of skill. What kind of martial magical power is this? Why can it imitate the roar of the dragon god? Bardic was shocked, looking at the human Xiaoping in front of him in disbelief. Even the Dragonians had not learned such authentic dragon language, because every syllable of the true dragon could cause the power of heaven and earth to resonate, and contained infinite power. This was the power of the true dragon, and they had not inherited it, so they could only speculate. Why don't you ask the King of Hell? Xiaoping was not interested in explaining anything to him, and punched through the void. Fast, too fast. Batik's hair stood on end. He felt that Xiaoping's fist was extremely terrifying. It was like an antelope hanging its horn without a trace, but it was also like an immemorial heavy hammer, containing an unparalleled pressure. It was also like a falling star. The fist energy contained in such a punch was enough to shatter stars. His pupils constricted, and he couldn't even move his feet before the fist smashed into his body. The force of his fist penetrated through the paper, and a terrifying force exploded in Bardic's body. Even though he had the defensive power that the dragon human race was proud of in his scales, it was of no use. Dong! Bardic's body exploded like a watermelon, turning into a mass of minced meat that splattered on the ground, dyeing the land red. The city lord of Dragonhorn City was dead. This sudden turn of events immediately jolted the other Draconian kings out of their trance. Just one punch was enough to blow up City Lord Batik. How astonishing was this strength? Rumor had it that Xiaoping had the strength to kill hundreds of Draconian kings, and it was not an exaggeration. But even so, it couldn't stop the anger in the hearts of these draconian kings. If this human was allowed to come and go as he pleased in Dragonhorn City, what dignity would they have left? Die, human. Everyone, let's join forces and kill him. Immediately, dozens of draconian kings at the peak of the magical realm charged forward. They were proficient in fist techniques, leg techniques, blade techniques, or sword techniques. Every one of them had cultivated such martial techniques to the magical realm, and every move they made had the power to influence the world and twist the universe. When they attacked at the same time, it was as if a nuclear bomb had exploded. If he hadn't consumed the dragon crystals, perhaps Xiaoping would have avoided them and feared them. But after consuming a large number of dragon crystals, the golden crow of hell bloodline in his body had become more intense, and his strength, speed, and physical defense had more than doubled. It was a piece of cake for him to deal with these draconian kings. Magical martial arts, lightning fist. In an instant, Xiaoping used the lightning fist technique, and a lightning symbol magical talisman emerged from the purple mansion space. Terrifying lightning power burst out from the deepest part of his body. Immediately, a fist seal appeared in midair. This fist seal contained the power of thunder. It was like a thunder dragon, crackling and releasing purple light. It was extremely dazzling. Dong! This fist hit a draconian king, and the terrifying lightning power instantly pierced through his body. A large, charred hole appeared in his chest, and blood flowed out. The lightning energy even transformed into a lightning spear and extended outwards. The two dragonoid kings behind him were also pierced by this lightning spear. They all stared with their eyes wide open, not knowing what had happened. Their bodies were blown up by a single punch, and the lightning power exploded in the depths of their bodies. Too fast. Many of the draconian kings were shocked. This punch was not only powerful, but also incredibly fast. They saw that Xiaoping seemed to have turned into a bolt of lightning, and his whole body was surrounded by lightning. In an instant, he disappeared from where he was, and in the next second, he appeared beside the other draconian kings, and then pierced through their bodies with a single punch. From the moment they attacked to the moment they died, only a second had passed. How could they have reacted in such a short period of time? Xiaoping was like a tiger in a flock of sheep. His body had completely turned into a bolt of lightning, flashing continuously in this area and shuttling in front of these draconian kings. The lightning fist not only represented that the fist technique contained the power of lightning, but also the power of speed. One could turn into lightning and be so fast that the enemy could not even react. The surrounding draconian kings only saw a bolt of lightning running on the scene. Bang, bang, bang. In just 3 minutes, hundreds of draconian kings were lying in pools of blood, with a large hole in their chests. A large amount of blood flowed on the ground, and the air was filled with the strong smell of blood. Shocking craters were also blasted on the ground. Gravel flew in all directions, and countless cracks appeared. It was a mess. Impossible. The remaining draconian kings were shocked. Even though they had raised the rumors to the peak and repeatedly raised Xiaoping's strength, they were still extremely shocked when they saw this scene. They had been surrounded by hundreds of draconian kings, and yet they could not even touch the hem of his clothes. Instead, hundreds of draconian kings were killed, and there were heavy casualties. Was this a nightmare? If it was a nightmare, they hoped to wake up now. Chapter 1293. Oh no, the enemy is too strong. We are no match for him. Retreat, retreat quickly, and return to Dragon God City. Let the great emperor take action. Run, break up, and escape. Let the great emperor take action. The faces of the Dragonoid kings were extremely ugly. They were unwilling to give up. But no matter how unwilling they were, the strength that Xiaoping had displayed was already at the level of an emperor. With just a roar, he had knocked out all the Dragonoid people in the city. How powerful was that? It would be difficult for ordinary Dragonoid warriors to stay conscious in front of this man. Even 100 Dragonoid kings would not be able to stop him for a moment. Only the great emperor could stop this human. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The rest of the Dragonoid kings fled quickly. Some used their unique magical powers to move a kilometer per second. Some teleported through the void. Some drilled directly into the ground. Some formed battle formations and enhanced each other's strength. They fled in groups, riding on the demonic wind. These dragonoid kings displayed their magical powers. They moved faster than when they came, as if they wished their parents had given them more legs. They exerted all their strength. Xiaoping strolled leisurely and was not in a hurry to catch up. He only raised his hand and punched the dragonoid king beside him. Although they were separated by several kilometers, the fist force arrived in an instant. Boom! Immediately, there was a burst of explosion in midair. Immediately, the bodies of several dragonoid kings exploded with one punch, turning into minced meat and falling from the sky. With just 2 or 3 punches, more than a dozen dragonoid kings were easily killed. It was as easy as slaughtering chickens and dogs. And this scene made them even more frightened. They did not dare to stay where they were, for fear that Xiaoping would track them down and kill them all in Dragonhorn City. An hour later, the dragonoid kings of Dragonhorn City had quickly fled from the city and ran toward Dragon God City. But they were chased by Xiaoping all the way, and as a result, more than half of them were either dead or injured. Dragonhorn City was basically an empty city at this moment. As for those ordinary dragonoid who had been knocked out, they would not wake up without half a day's effort. At this time, Xiaoping came to the city lord's residence of Dragonhorn City, the center of wealth in this city. Since he had come to the enemy's base camp and chased them away without even having the time to take away the treasures, how could he possibly return empty-handed after entering a treasure mountain? Because the draconian kings had fled en masse, the city lord's mansion no longer had any guards. The soldiers had all fainted on the ground, and Xiaoping's path was unimpeded. Plunder everything. Xiaoping went directly to the treasury of the city lord mansion. He punched open the metal door of the treasury and stepped inside. Immediately, he saw a dazzling array of treasures. It could only be said that Dragonhorn City was indeed one of the largest cities of the dragon human race. It had been incomparably prosperous for tens of thousands of years, and this also contributed to the fact that their wealth had accumulated to an astonishing degree. Gold, silver, and jewels piled up like a mountain. This was already a small matter and was not worth much to a draconian king. More importantly, they plundered all kinds of precious cultivation resources from the Dragon God continent. Xiaoping saw more than 100 types of spirit herbs that came into view, and each of them emitted a dense medicinal aura that greatly boosted one's spirit and made one's entire body feel comfortable. Master, hurry up and plunder. You can plant these spirit herbs in the pearl of mountains and rivers. I believe that with my careful cultivation, these spirit herbs will definitely multiply more. At this moment, the voice of the green ox, the spirit of the pearl of mountains and rivers, sounded. It almost drooled when it saw the spirit herbs in the treasury. Of course, to the green ox, who was once a treasure of a saint, these spirit herbs were extremely inconspicuous. But it did not know how many years it had been since it had cultivated spirit herbs, and the pearl of mountains and rivers had also been barren for a very long time. So it was eager to add a trace of vitality to the space of the pearl of mountains and rivers. All right. Xiaoping waved his hand and immediately stored all these spirit herbs into the space of the pearl of mountains and rivers, leaving them to the green ox to take care of. Their spiritual liquid. As he went deeper into the treasury, Xiaoping's eyes suddenly lit up. He immediately saw a pool that looked like a small river, and there was a large amount of spiritual liquid in it, exuding a dense fragrance. This was the spiritual liquid from the dragon vein, which had been plundered by the dragon human race and placed in the treasury. He had once cultivated in the dragon vein, so he naturally knew how precious this spiritual liquid was. It had a significant effect on enhancing magic power and was many times better than some pills. Whoosh! Without hesitation, he immediately emptied the entire small river of spiritual liquid and plundered all of it into the space of the pearl of mountains and rivers. Anyway, the space of the pearl of mountains and rivers was very large, so there was no need to worry about it being full. Xiaoping also found a lot of refining materials in the treasury. There were all kinds of precious metals from the Dragon God continent, such as meteoric iron, cold iron, fire ores, water ores, and so on. And these things were handed over to the golden slime to deal with, and it had a look of bliss on its face as it worked hard to devour these metals. The door of the treasury was also eaten by it in 2 or 3 bites. If the dragon human kings knew that the precious ores that they had painstakingly collected and spent a lot of manpower and resources had been eaten by the golden slime, they would probably go crazy with anger. There are actually dragon crystals? Xiaoping continued to go deeper and immediately found the existence of the dragon crystals in a small room that was full of restrictions. He carefully counted and found that there were at least 1,000 dragon crystals. These dragon crystals were piled up together, and dragon chi gathered, forming what seemed to be a small red dragon in midair. It soared through the clouds and emitted an incomparably majestic aura. Obviously, there was also a difference in the quality of dragon crystals. The dragon crystals placed in this room were obviously twice the quality of the dragon crystals that Xiaoping had obtained before, and the energy they contained was also incomparable. It was estimated that these dragon crystals were the real treasures and priceless. Take them all away. Xiaoping was very grateful for the wealth of these dragon people. If they were not so rich, how could he have had such a huge harvest today? It would not be an exaggeration to say that he had become rich overnight. Another 2 hours passed. At this time, the treasury had been completely emptied by Xiaoping, and it was even cleaner than his face. Even if the housekeeper cleaned, it would not be as clean as it was now. If City Lord Bardic were to resurrect and see his treasury in such a state, he might die of anger again. Okay, let's go to Dragon God City. Xiaoping clapped his hands, satisfied. After looting this place clean, the next step was to go to Dragon God City. And at this time, the dragon human kings who had fled from Dragonhorn City had already fled to Dragon God City. They were panic-stricken and quickly arrived to inform the dragon human emperor that an earth-shattering event had happened in Dragonhorn City. Dong dong dong! Immediately, the horn of war sounded throughout the entire Dragon God City. This was a war horn that had never appeared since the establishment of Dragon God City, which meant that there was an invasion of foreign enemies and danger was imminent. Chapter 1294. The mountain behind Dragon God City was a 10,000-meter-tall mountain surrounded by clouds and mist, making it look like a paradise on earth. On top of a cliff, there was an old man in a white robe sitting cross-legged. He held a black fishing rod in his hand and was fishing on the cliff. However, this black fishing rod had no hook or fishing line. It was just a rod. Not to mention the fact that this was a cliff with a bottomless abyss below. There was no prey at all. Moreover, he was only carrying a fishing rod. So even if prey appeared, how could he possibly catch it? However, the white-robed old man paid no attention to this. He closed his eyes and rested in a carefree and relaxed manner. The aura of his entire body had fused into one with nature, and he seemed like a stone statue that lay across this mountain peak and didn't move in the slightest. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, dozens of figures immediately appeared at the foot of the mountain peak. Each of them had the strength of a pinnacle king, and they were all dragon human kings. They were the elders of the dragon human race. At this moment, they had all appeared in front of the white-robed elderly man. Even in Dragon God City, these dragon men elders were important figures with great authority. They controlled hundreds of millions of soldiers and horses, and with a single order, they could annihilate an entire city. However, in front of this white-robed elderly man, they did not even dare to breathe loudly, for fear of disturbing him. This was because this elderly man was the emperor-level expert of the dragon human race, Great Emperor Gulan. Great Emperor Gulan. A group of dragon human kings came forward and greeted him respectfully. The white-robed elderly man, Great Emperor Gulan, did not even turn his head and remained motionless as he held the black fishing rod in his hand. You all suddenly came to look for me. Did something big happen in Dragon God City? Yes, Great Emperor Gulan. A dragon man elder said in a deep voice. Previously, there was a king-level human called Xiaoping. He single-handedly breached Dragonhorn City, killed hundreds of king-level warriors, and knocked out 1,000,000 elite Dragonman soldiers. His might was unparalleled. We guessed that he has Emperor-level combat strength, and he is now single-handedly attacking Dragon God City. He is very arrogant and wants to flatten our Dragon God City. He gritted his teeth, his tone extremely resentful. Dragonhorn City had been breached by a mere human, and hundreds of dragon human kings had died. The vast dragon human race's territory had been let by a mere human, and he had even attacked Dragon God City. But they were powerless to stop it. This was a great humiliation, a stain on the history of the dragon human race that could never be erased. He actually possesses the combat strength of an Emperor rank expert, while only at the King realm. You killed 100 Dragonman kings and destroyed Dragonhorn City. Hearing this, the white-robed elder, Grand the Great, opened his eyes slightly. This is ridiculous. Did he use some special method? That's not it. According to the information sent back by the dragon human kings who fled, it was all his own strength, pure battle prowess, without any tricks. One of the draconian elders had a grim expression. Because of this, he felt that this matter was extremely troublesome. If the other party had Emperor-level battle prowess, they would not be an opponent that they could withstand. Only by inviting a great emperor would they be able to contend against it. Then he has definitely stepped into the Emperor realm a long time ago, and he isn't at the King realm at all. He's acting like a pig to eat a tiger. The white-robed elder's eyes gleamed. As long as an Emperor-level expert wants to hide it, you won't be able to see through his martial arts realm. But I didn't expect the human race to have a fourth great emperor so quickly. The potential of this race is indeed astonishing, and they should be completely eradicated. On the Dragon God continent, only the dragon human race is the true overlord. A terrifying, murderous intent emanated from his body. Yes, great Emperor Grand. So we are completely powerless to stop this human race demon. Only a great emperor can stop him and stop this human's atrocities, an elder hurriedly said. But that human strength is too terrifying. I think we should invite a few other great emperors to come out and kill this arrogant human in a thunderous manner, he carefully made a suggestion. Because Xiaoping's battle achievements were too terrifying, many Dragonman kings were scared out of their wits, and they did not have the courage to confront him at all. They hoped that a few great emperors would appear and kill this human great emperor. Do you think that I alone am no match for that human great emperor? The eyes of the white-robed elder, Great Emperor Grand, were like black holes that had the power to devour light. Anyone's soul that was targeted by him would not be able to escape. No, I didn't mean it like that. With a smack, the Dragonman elder knelt on the ground in fear, his entire body trembling. The power of an Emperor-level expert was too terrifying. Just a wisp of his aura was enough to make him almost unable to get up. But he did have such a thought in his heart. After all, Great Emperor Grand was the 6th great emperor of the dragon human race, and he only succeeded in becoming a great emperor because of the enlightenment of the other 5 great emperors. Therefore, in terms of strength, Great Emperor Grand was the weakest among the 6 great emperors. It was understandable that these Dragonman elders were a little lacking in confidence. Roar! At this moment, a roar suddenly sounded from the bottomless abyss. It contained an earth-shattering sound wave, and it shook dozens of Dragonman elders so much that they almost vomited blood. Such a sound wave could penetrate metal and crack rocks. They could not withstand it at all. Immediately, a huge, ferocious bird flew out from the abyss. It had a pair of black wings that covered the sky, and it was over 100 meters long. Its entire body emitted a ferocious aura. All the Dragonman kings were shocked. This was because this ferocious bird was the famous blood-devouring demon bird of the Dragon God continent. It had the strength of a half-step great emperor, and it had once devoured an entire city of dragonmen in a single bite. Not long ago, this was a monster that was like a natural disaster, and countless dragonmen feared it. The prey is here. The white-robed elder, Great Emperor Grand, laughed out loud. He raised his hand, and all the magic in his body surged. His clothes fluttered even though there was no wind, and a thin white line extended from the fishing rod. It was as white as ice crystals, and it shone brightly. This thin white line emitted waves of cold air, causing the temperature within a radius of 1,000 meters to drop by dozens of degrees. The surrounding Dragonman kings could not help but shiver. This was a chill that penetrated into their bones. The thin white line extended rapidly, and as if it was enveloped by cold air, it extended to the body of the blood-devouring demon bird at a speed visible to the naked eye. Dong! The white-robed elder, Great Emperor Grand, waved his fishing rod lightly, and the thin white line pierced through the blood-devouring demon bird's body like a spear. The latter let out a shrill cry, and blood splattered everywhere. However, the blood-devouring demon bird did not cry for long. When the thin white line penetrated its body, a terrifying cold power spread rapidly. In a few breaths' time, the blood-devouring demon bird had turned into a lifelike ice sculpture. Boom! Chapter 1295. The Dragonmen elders were dumbfounded and in disbelief. The closer they looked at the blood-eater demon bird, the more they could feel its terrifying aura. Moreover, the sharp claws on his body, the steel-like feathers, and the indestructible beak were all supreme weapons that could easily kill a draconian king. In the past, countless Dragonman kings had become food for the blood-eater demon bird, unable to struggle. But such a ferocious bird was subdued by Great Emperor Grand in a single move, instantly turning into an ice sculpture. It couldn't even escape. Without a doubt, this was the might of a great emperor. Many Dragonmen elders were trembling, feeling even more respect for Great Emperor Grand. This was the respect one had for an expert. A newly ascended Great Emperor and one who has been in the Great Emperor realm for a long time are two completely different things. Great Emperor Grand laughed out coldly. What does a mere newly ascended mother of Asterisk human king amount to? To think that he would dare to come to the Dragon God City and cause a ruckus. He really doesn't know his place. Where's that mother of Asterisk human king? I'll go and kill him right now. With a swoosh, he stood up from where he was, emitting a terrifying aura that instantly enveloped the entire mountain peak. He was like a peerless sword saint unsheathing his sword, or an ancient demonic ape coming out of the mountains. With his body as the center, all the beasts within a 1,000-mile radius were trembling in fear, and the ground was shaking. Yes, Great Emperor Grand. The Dragonmen elders were extremely excited after witnessing Great Emperor Grand's terrifying strength. He killed the blood-eater demon bird so easily. So what if that human was an emperor-level expert? How could he be a match for their Great Emperor? With Great Emperor Grand taking action, the human Xia Ping could only swallow his grievances. Of course, if the other 5 Great Emperors were to take action, things would be even more foolproof. Unfortunately, the other 5 Great Emperors were cultivating in seclusion in the depths of Dragon God City, carefully comprehending the martial way. If not for the danger of extinction, no one would dare to let the 5 of them out. Therefore, they could only ask this newly ascended Great Emperor to take action. Several hours later, outside Dragon God City, Xia Ping searched for treasures everywhere in Dragonhorn City, and after he had eaten and drank to his heart's content, recovering his magic power and replenishing his spirit, he finally leisurely made his way to Dragon God City. At this moment, the Dragon God had already received the news. Countless Dragonmen elite soldiers were mobilized, ready for battle. Even thousands of Dragonmen kings appeared, surging with murderous intent. An army had already been set up in an area more than 10 kilometers away from Dragon God City. Countless Dragonfolk soldiers were clad in shoulder armor and wielding spears. They wanted to drive this great enemy out of the city gates. After all, this was an emperor-level expert. If he really caused trouble in Dragon God City, the entire Dragon God City would probably be reduced to rubble by him, resulting in countless casualties. Of course, what caught Xia Ping's attention the most was still the white-robed elder. The aura that the elder exuded was as deep as the abyss, unfathomable. and his aura was one with the world. It was as if his every move could invoke the power of the heavens. Without a doubt, this was a treasure refinement realm cultivator who had the ability to control the power of heaven and earth. He was also a monarch realm cultivator of this world. Damned humans, to think they actually dare to come to Dragon God's city. You're too arrogant. What do you think our holy city is? Do you think you can come and go as you please? Don't go back if you dare to come. That's right. It's really exciting to see a great emperor fall. Many dragonfolk soldiers were surging with murderous intent. Their aura was magnificent, and they were not afraid at all. With great Emperor Grand by their side, they were not afraid of a great emperor of the human race coming here to cause trouble. Moreover, to them, the human race was just a race of slaves who were only fit to be their laborers. How could a mere human be worthy of their attention? Human, a dragonfolk elder stood on the city gates and immediately yelled, "Quickly surrender. If you dare to resist, I'll immediately cut you down with knives and axes, and you'll die a terrible death. Watch out, that human is moving." Suddenly, the pupils of many dragonfolk elders constricted. They saw that Xia Ping did not seem to hear what they said. In fact, he did not even care about the kings and millions of elite soldiers as he walked over step by step. Dong, dong, dong. But as Xia Ping walked over, every step he took was like the roar of a war drum. The sound seemed to hit their hearts, causing their blood to tremble. Not good. A dragonfolk elder seemed to have sensed something, and his expression changed drastically. He immediately yelled, "Retreat, retreat. Soldiers with weak consciousness, retreat immediately. This is not a place for you." He could feel an extremely terrifying spiritual wave erupting from Xia Ping. It condensed into a substance and spread rapidly like a tidal wave. Against such a divine sense attack, ordinary dragonfolk soldiers could not withstand it at all. This was because it was an attack on the spiritual level. It did not matter how strong their bodies were. If they could withstand it, they would be fine. If they couldn't, they would die. This was the horror of a confrontation of divine senses. "It's too late." The white-robed elder, Great Emperor Grand, said indifferently. His eyes gleamed coldly. The dragonfolk soldiers with weak consciousnesses did not know what was happening at all. They only felt a buzzing sound in their heads. In the next second, they lost consciousness as if their souls had been hit by a hammer. Bang, bang, bang. One by one, they fell to the ground with their eyes rolling back and white foam coming out of their mouths. Clearly, they were already unconscious. It was impossible for them to regain consciousness without half a day. How is this possible? The expressions of many dragonfolk elders were extremely ugly. Looking over, a large portion of the originally majestic dragonfolk army had already fallen. Only a few could stand up. This spiritual wave even seeped into Dragon God City. Many Dragon God City residents were chatting in restaurants, strolling on the streets, doing business, and reading books. However, no matter what they were doing, they were all hit and knocked unconscious on the ground. In the face of this divine sense attack, everyone except the king-level dragonfolk had fainted. Is such a terrifying divine sense power really something a human can possess? Many dragonfolk kings were trembling. When such a divine sense enveloped down, it was like a spiritual storm that destroyed everything in the city, attacking indiscriminately. Even the king-level dragonfolk like them felt great pressure. If they did not hold on with all their might, they would probably follow in the footsteps of the other dragonfolk. If their willpower was slightly weaker, they would not be able to remain conscious in front of this man. "Human, you've gone too far." At this moment, the white-robed elder, Great Emperor Grand, spoke. His voice also contained a unique spiritual wave. Like a gentle breeze, it offset the divine sense power that Xia Ping sent out. Immediately, many dragonfolk kings felt much more relaxed. They did not have to bear too much pressure. Dragonfolk Great Emperor? How rude of me. It's my first time in the enemy's city. It's etiquette to intimidate them a little. Xia Ping stood with his hands behind his back, looking at the many dragonfolk. Chapter 1296. Slightly intimidating. The dragonoid kings were infuriated when they heard this. Was this just slightly intimidating? More than half of the Dragonoid kings were knocked unconscious, and 99% of the Dragonoid army was crippled. Even many of the residents of Dragon God City were knocked unconscious. Some of the weaker Dragonoid soldiers even had their souls destroyed and died on the spot. How is this just slightly intimidating? This bastard was clearly trying to intimidate the Dragonoid kings. He was warning them not to use the human wave tactic, and that they would only be courting death no matter how many ants they sent. However, they had to admit that this was very effective and had completely stunned the ordinary Dragonoid kings. No matter how many ordinary Dragonoid kings attacked together, they would not be a match for a great emperor. Slightly intimidating. Great Emperor Grand sneered. Tell me, an expert like you would not come to Dragon God City to die for no reason. What exactly do you want to do here? He was very confused about Xia Ping's purpose in coming to Dragon God City. Everyone knew that there were 6 great emperors in Dragon God City and countless restrictions. Even if the 3 great emperors of the human race entered this place, they would be courting death. However, this human knew this and still came here alone. If he didn't have any ulterior motives, he wouldn't believe it. I heard that there is a forbidden ground in the depths of Dragon God City called the Forbidden Ground of the Divine Dragon. I'm very curious about this place and would like to go in and take a look. Xia Ping directly stated his purpose. How dare you? How dare you, human? Human, you are courting death. The expressions of the Dragonoid elders changed drastically when they heard Xia Ping's words. The Forbidden Ground of the Divine Dragon was the most important secret place of the Dragonoid kings and was countless times more important than Dragon God City. This place was the origin and true foundation of the Dragonoid kings. No one was allowed to enter. Even the Dragonoid elders had to make great contributions to be allowed to go near. A mere human actually wanted to enter the forbidden ground of the Divine Dragon and covet the inheritance of the Dragon God. This was practically digging at the roots of the Dragonoid kings. How could they tolerate this? Great Emperor Grand's pupils constricted. He did not expect Xia Ping's goal to be the forbidden ground of the Divine Dragon. He was truly audacious to enter the most important secret place of the Dragonoid kings. If you are willing to let me enter the forbidden ground of the Divine Dragon, I can leave now. Xia Ping stated his conditions. Dream on. Don't even think about it. You actually want to enter the forbidden grounds of the Dragon God? Is this something a little human like you can dream of? Who do you think you are? How dare you touch something that belongs to the Dragon God? Many of the dragon human elders immediately refused. This was the supreme secret of the dragon human race, and it was impossible for a human to enter. Even allowing a human to approach, it would be blasphemy to the Dragon God. Did he refuse? No matter. I have already expected this. As long as we flatten Dragon God City, we should be able to enter. Xia Ping smiled as he looked at the many dragon human kings. You want to flatten my Dragon God City? You must be out of your mind. My Dragon God City has 6 great Emperor-level experts. How are you going to flatten it? A dragon human king was so angry that he started laughing. 6 emperors? Anyone who dares to block it will die. Xia Ping's tone was indifferent, as if he was talking about something that couldn't be more ordinary. Arrogant to the extreme. You want to kill the 6 Emperor-level experts of the dragon human race? Dream on. Have you lost your mind? Do you know what you are capable of? There is no need for the great emperors to do anything. All of us kings can kill you dozens of times if we join forces. Many of the dragon human kings were so angry that smoke was coming out of their nostrils. Even though they knew that this human was extremely arrogant, they didn't expect him to be this arrogant. This fellow actually wanted to flatten Dragon God City and kill the 6 great Emperor-level experts of the dragon human race by himself. How much did this bastard underestimate the dragon human race before he would let this matter rest? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The hot-tempered dragon human kings were furious. They couldn't stand this arrogant human for even a second, and they all rushed out of Dragon God City. Suddenly, hundreds of dragon human kings attacked at the same time. They filled the sky and formed a huge battle formation, as if they wanted to kill Xia Ping instantly. The white-robed elder, Great Emperor Grand, didn't move. His eyes were indifferent as he continued to stand on the city walls. If Yi Qingyu couldn't even defeat hundreds of dragon-human kings, there was no need for him to take action. Get down. Xiaoping stood with his hands behind his back and still didn't move a single step. He looked indifferently at the dragon-human kings who were charging at him and immediately activated the star guiding technique. Remarkable ability, boundless gravity. Rumble. In an instant, a terrifying force field appeared with his body as the center. It covered a radius of 1,000 kilometers and instantly produced a gravitational force that was hundreds or even thousands of times stronger than normal. Oh no! The dragon-human kings, who were originally aggressive and wanted to attack, suddenly turned pale. They felt as if they were suddenly carrying a mountain on their backs, and every cell in their body was being crushed by gravity. As cultivators of the divine realm, they could use their magic power to counteract gravity and fly off the ground. However, the sudden increase in gravity immediately disrupted the circulation of their magic power, and it was as if they were birds whose wings had been cut off. Bang! 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 Immediately, they fell from the sky and created hundreds of deep craters in an instant. There was a loud rumble, and huge cracks appeared on the ground. Damn it! The dragon-human kings howled at the sky in grief and indignation. They wanted to struggle with all their might, but as they struggled, the gravity gradually increased. As time passed, it wasn't just one mountain that was pressing down on them, but dozens of mountains. Under such terrifying gravity, ordinary rocks were instantly crushed into powder. If not for the fact that they were dragon-human kings and had strong bodies, their blood vessels would have burst and their organs would have been crushed to death. Arrogant? Do you know what arrogance is? Xiaoping looked down at the dragon-human kings calmly. Doing things that are beyond your abilities is arrogance. That's what you're doing now. And you want to kill me? Are you qualified? Get down on the ground and feel your powerlessness. Dragon people are nothing more than this. His tone was calm, as if he was talking about something that couldn't be more normal. The dragon-human kings were furious. Xiaoping's words almost made their lungs explode. He was just a slave-like human, yet he dared to look down on them like that. However, no matter how angry they were or how unwilling they were, it was useless before absolute power. They were also pressed to the ground like dogs, unable to move. Their hearts were filled with incomparable torment, and they felt great humiliation. Chapter 1297. Human, this is not a place for you to behave atrociously. Suddenly, Great Emperor Grand, who had been watching the show from the top of the city walls, could not stand it anymore. If this continued, the dragon men would suffer heavy losses, and many of them would be killed by Xiaoping. Swoosh! Great Emperor Grand instantly closed the distance of more than 10 kilometers and punched through the air. This punch was extremely terrifying. It seemed to have mobilized the power of ice in the world and condensed it into a fist of ice and snow. Everywhere it passed, the ground turned into ice and the area was frozen for more than 10 kilometers. The dragonmen kings on the city walls could not help but shiver. This chill was so cold that it seemed to have seeped into their bones. Even though Great Emperor Grand was not targeting them, the chill that he exuded was still not something they could withstand. The huge city walls seemed to have been frozen by this chill and turned into ice walls. This was a punch that mobilized the power of heaven and earth and was many times more powerful than the attack of a divine realm cultivator. Xiaoping stood where he was and immediately felt an overwhelming pressure. It was as if the entire world had become his enemy and all the power was repelling him. Kuan Peng steps. In an instant, Xiaoping used the divine movement technique and transformed into a Kuan Peng. He instantly teleported away from where he was and only left behind an afterimage. Boom! The punch immediately smashed into the ground where Xiaoping was standing and immediately created a pit that was 5 to 6 kilometers deep. Several tons of soil flew out. A terrifying chill spread out and instantly froze the soil, turning it into a small iceberg. I see. Great Emperor Grand stood in midair and his eyes were cold. You do not know how to mobilize the power of heaven and earth. It seems that you are really only at the king realm and not the emperor realm. When he discovered this fact, even though he had advanced to the Emperor realm and his mind was as calm as the surface of a lake, he could not help but be shocked by this fact. He was only at the King realm, but he had the combat strength to rival an Emperor realm cultivator. This was simply too monstrous. In the history of the Dragon Men, there had never been such a person. What? Many of the Dragon Men kings were also shocked. Although they had already guessed it, they were still shocked, speechless when Great Emperor Grand said out loud, "There had never been such a monster who could rival an Emperor realm cultivator at the King realm. It is enough to kill you." Xiaoping looked indifferently at Great Emperor Grand. Arrogant. Great Emperor Grand sneered, "I admit that you have some ability. You're only a king, but you're able to display the battle prowess of an emperor. Such talent has never been seen before. But if you don't advance to the Emperor realm, you won't know the terror of the Emperor realm. So what if you're a monstrous genius? You want to defeat an Emperor realm expert? That's simply wishful thinking. This old man will let you have a taste of the difference in strength. The magical ability of the dragon human race, Dragon Song Snow." As the sound of his voice faded, Grand Emperor Jelen acted without hesitation. His hands folded into a series of seals as a terrifying energy gushed forth from his body, drawing upon the coldness of the heavens and earth. Rumble, countless streams of cold air gathered together, forming a huge cloud. Vaguely, this huge cloud seemed to transform into a giant dragon soaring in the void. The dragon raised its head to the sky and let out a loud roar, which condensed into waves of unique sound waves. Following that, cold air condensed and huge snowflakes fell from the sky. In the span of a few breaths, the area within a radius of dozens of kilometers seemed to have turned into a world of ice and snow. More than 10 centimeters of snow piled up on the ground, and the temperature dropped to -20 to 30 degrees. So powerful. Is this the power of an Emperor realm expert? Many of the dragon human kings were shocked. Only now did they truly understand the power of an Emperor realm expert. They could change the weather and control the power of the heavens and earth with a single thought. It was supposed to be a hot summer, but under the power of an Emperor realm expert, it instantly turned into winter. It was as if the entire world had been frozen, and it was a terrifying mess. Kill! Grand Emperor Jelen punched out, and countless snowflakes gathered together, quickly forming a snow dragon. It had horns, scales, a dragon's tail, a dragon's head, and dragon's claws. It was extremely lifelike. Roar! The snow dragon roared and charged toward Xiaoping with the power of the heavens and earth. Its claws stretched out, and even a mountain would be smashed to pieces. A cold light flashed in Xiaoping's eyes. There seemed to be stars spinning in the depths of his pupils. He operated the star guiding art and immediately activated the star body. Every acupoint on his body seemed to have a star living in it. Endless power of the stars flowed between the veins in his body, shining brightly. Star guiding art, star fist. He stood where he was, and the terrifying power of the stars in his body gathered on his right fist. It was surrounded by azure light, as if the power of a star lived in the depths of his fist. Boom! The azure fist collided with the snow dragon. It was like a battle between a star and a dragon. Immediately, an earth-shattering explosion erupted. The air trembled for thousands of times, and a deep pit with a diameter of more than 10 kilometers appeared on ground. This shock wave swept out and condensed into a solid form, immediately affecting the many dragon human kings on the city wall. Instantly, some dragon human kings were caught off guard and were swept by the shockwave. Their bodies were sent flying, coughing up blood in midair as they were sent flying 5 to 6 kilometers away. Their bodies smashed through more than 10 walls and more than 10 houses before finally coming to a stop. Their bodies were also covered with a large amount of rubble. With a puff, they could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Obviously, they had been seriously injured. Many dragon human kings were shocked. This was a battle between emperor-level experts. Even though they were king-level experts, in a battle between experts of this level, just a shockwave alone could seriously injure them. Some dragon human kings who had run back from Dragonhorn City were even more grateful. Fortunately, they had run fast. Otherwise, if Xiaoping really went berserk, none of them would have survived. This is Emperor-level power? It doesn't look like much. Xiaoping provoked. Sure enough, Great Emperor Grand was easily angered. He sneered, "You are indeed amazing, using your king body to resist Emperor-level power. But you can only resist one punch. How many punches can you resist? 100 punches or 1,000 punches?" After advancing to the Emperor level, you can use and manipulate the power of heaven and earth. The density of your magical power is not something a king can imagine. When your magical power is exhausted, you will be a fish on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. If you don't become an Emperor-level expert, you will never know how terrifying an Emperor-level expert is. It will be easy to crush you to death. He intended to exhaust Xiaoping's magical power with the momentum of a thunderbolt. Dragon Human Race's Magical Power, Thousand Dragon Fist. Chapter 1298. Dong Dong Dong. In an instant, Great Emperor Grand made his move, throwing out a flurry of punches. In just a second, he had punched out over 1,000 times. Every punch was a dragon fist condensed from the power of ice. The fists were like ice dragons that had reappeared in the mortal world. They were vivid and lifelike as they roared at the sky. In the depths of their cores were divine ability talismans that drew upon the power of ice between heaven and earth. Suddenly, over 1,000 ice dragons charged towards Xiaoping. Terrifying cold air filled the surrounding space, as if the surrounding 1,000 miles had turned into a world of ice and snow. So powerful. Many dragon human kings were shocked. The dragon human race's Thousand Dragon Fist was one of their most powerful divine abilities. Once it was used, it would be like 1,000 dragons attacking a city. With one strike, it could destroy a city with billions of people, and its power was even more terrifying than a nuclear bomb. Not to mention the fact that the one who unleashed this martial arts technique was Grand the Great, an Emperor-level powerhouse who could manipulate the power of heaven and earth. The power that he unleashed was incomparable. If they were in his shoes and faced the attack of this martial art, they probably wouldn't even be able to resist for a second before they would be instantly blasted into smithereens and cease to exist. Not bad. Xiaoping's brows twitched. He could also feel the immense pressure coming from the Grand Emperor. As expected of a treasure refinement realm cultivator, even if he was just a native of the Dragon God continent who had never lived in the universe. But with the Dragon Man bloodline, he was still much more powerful than the average cultivator of the treasure refinement realm. However, if that wasn't the case, the other party would be too weak, and that would be meaningless. Xiaoping took a step forward and immediately circulated the star, attracting art. The power of his astral constitution burst out, and the 360 acupoints on his body seemed to glow with starlight. Every pore on his body corresponded to the countless stars in the sky, resonating with each other as if he could borrow the great power of the stars in the sky. This was the terrifying aspect of the star physique. Even without stepping into the artifact refining realm, one could still resonate with the stars in the universe and temporarily borrow the endless star energy. Immediately, the skies seemed to turn into a dark world, and then a myriad world star chart quickly appeared. One star after another rotated in the void, filled with chaotic air currents. It was as if they were huge stars that had existed since ancient times, containing an ancient power. Star guiding art, falling stars. Xiaoping stretched out his hand. With a light pat, he guided countless stars in the depths of the void. Just like that, the stars fell from the void, tearing through the air and bringing with them sparks. They came crashing down at a speed that exceeded 100 times the speed of sound. My God, what kind of power is this? Many of the Dragonoid kings were stunned, and their eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. They saw thousands of stars falling from the outer domain, smashing toward Dragon God City. Furthermore, every single star was like a towering mountain, containing a force of hundreds of millions of tons. When such a star fell, the power it would unleash was simply unimaginable. Not to mention the fact that there were over 1,000 of such stars crashing down. The power unleashed in an instant would be enough to destroy Dragon God City dozens of times over. This was a power that could destroy the world. Bang, bang, bang. The star crashed into the ground and collided with the ice dragons, and a destructive energy exploded out, creating a powerful shockwave that spread out in all directions. Kacha! Kacha! The city walls of Dragon God City, which were extremely sturdy and reputed to be indestructible for 10,000 years, were now cracked open, as if they were about to collapse at any moment. Retreat! Retreat quickly! We can't get involved in a battle between Emperor-level experts, or we'll die without a doubt. Retreat 5 kilometers! Retreat 5 kilometers immediately! The Dragonoid Kings were scared half to death. As for those below the Dragonoid King level, they didn't dare to stay where they were, and quickly retreated several kilometers, entering the depths of Dragon God City. They immediately activated the restrictive formation of Dragon God City, and a huge golden energy barrier appeared, enveloping the entire city like an eggshell. These shockwaves bombarded the restrictive formation of Dragon God City, but they were all neutralized, unable to harm the internal buildings of Dragon God City. Otherwise, just these shockwaves alone would have caused heavy casualties in Dragon God City. The ice dragons couldn't withstand the power of the falling stars either, and they exploded one after another, being smashed into smithereens. The huge stars also fell, smashing into the ground. With a boom, thousands of deep craters appeared on the ground, and the ground was tattered, looking like the surface of the moon. Even Great Emperor Grand couldn't withstand such an impact, and his lungs were injured in an instant, causing him to vomit blood from the severe injuries. He was also extremely shocked, not expecting Xiaoping to have such a terrifying mystique. He had seen countless martial mystiques of the human race, but he had never seen such a star mystique. It seemed to point directly to the great Tao, and it was unfathomable, as vast as the starry sky. At this moment, his heart was filled with endless doubts, and he was very suspicious of Xiaoping's origins. Die! But before he could think of anything, Xiaoping used the Kuan Peng steps, teleported over, and threw a punch at Great Emperor Grand that contained boundless starlight. This punch seemed to be holding a planet in his hand, and when it smashed over, the power hidden in it was extremely terrifying, as though it was going to shatter the ground. Not good. Great Emperor Grand's expression changed, and he wanted to dodge. But Xiaoping's speed was too fast, and the Kuan Peng steps teleported over 10 kilometers in an instant, appearing right beside him. By the time he reacted, the punch had already landed on his abdomen. Great Emperor Grand's body bent like a cooked prawn, and his entire body flew out like a cannonball. Dong! 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 His body smashed through 3 of Dragon God City's massive and thick city walls in quick succession. In fact, he even punctured a large hole in Dragon God City's restrictive formations. He slid across the ground for over 10 kilometers before coming to a stop. He had forcefully carved out a road that was more than 10 kilometers long, and there were signs of destruction everywhere. Impossible. The Dragon Human Kings were all extremely shocked, and their faces turned pale. To them, a great emperor was a supreme and invincible existence, comparable to a human-shaped nuclear bomb. He had the power to turn the world upside down, and it was impossible for him to be defeated. But the current situation was far beyond their imagination. Such a powerful great emperor expert, the guardian of the dragon human race, an expert who could single-handedly destroy an entire country, was sent flying by a mere human, unable to resist at all, and coughed up blood on the spot. How could they accept such a thing? If even a great emperor was unable to defeat this human, then how could the dragon human race stop him? Would Dragon God City be destroyed by this human from now on, and become the shame of the dragon human race for tens of thousands of years? Chapter 1299. Whoosh! Great Emperor Golan's figure flashed and immediately flew out of the rubble, once again arriving outside the city. His face was extremely gloomy as he stared at Xiaoping. No one could imagine how angry he was at this moment. If eyes could kill, Xiaoping would have been killed dozens of times. It was absolutely humiliating to be beaten to such a state by a human at the king realm in front of so many people. Great Emperor Galan. Xiaoping stood with his hands behind his back. I heard that your emperor-level cultivation base was imbued with wisdom. You can't advance without the help of the other great emperors. No wonder you are so weak. You should call the other great emperors out. Maybe they can wrestle with me. Otherwise, they will just be throwing their lives away. He was deliberately provoking him. Human, Great Emperor Galan almost went crazy when he heard this because Xiaoping's words simply stabbed at the sore spot in his heart. Although he was also an emperor-level expert, his treatment was obviously different from the other 5 great emperors. It was not only because he was the youngest great emperor, but most importantly, he had taken a shortcut to advance, unlike the other 5 great emperors who had to work hard to advance. Therefore, he had always wanted to use his achievements to prove himself. Even if he took a shortcut, his combat strength as an emperor-level expert would not lose to anyone. However, he did not expect that he would lose so badly against a human at the king realm. Wouldn't this really prove that he was a fake great emperor? Many Dragon Man kings could not help but suspect that Great Emperor Galan was really a fake great emperor. That was why he had fought with a mere king realm human to such an extent. If it was a real Dragon Man great emperor, he would definitely be able to kill his opponent easily. Alas, fake great emperors were fake great emperors. It was really not good to spoil things through excessive enthusiasm. The Dragon Man kings sighed inwardly, but they did not dare to say this out loud. After all, if Great Emperor Galan heard this, they would definitely be in deep trouble. I'm going to kill you. Great Emperor Galan was furious. Cold air gushed out from his body. In an instant, he turned into an ice dragon, filled with terrifying cold air, as if he was going to freeze the space. I said, "You are not qualified at all." Xiaoping punched out. He operated the star attraction art, communicated with the power of the stars, and punched out again. The punch broke through the sound barrier 100 times faster than the speed of sound. Like a falling star, it contained the power of billions of tons. It smashed on a Grand's body and exploded in an instant. Dong! The punch that contained the power of the stars had a terrifying penetrative force. It instantly pierced through Grand's defenses and smashed him into the ground, creating a huge crater. With a puff, Grand spat out another mouthful of blood. This punch had severely injured his lungs. Although the power of an emperor-level powerhouse made his vitality extremely tenacious, this punch did not take his life, but still made him lose more than 70% of his strength. Die! Xiaoping was unforgiving. He walked through the void and descended from the sky like a meteor. He wanted to crush Grand with a single stomp, thoroughly killing this dragon Grand Emperor. Not good. Great Emperor Grand's expression changed drastically. He could feel a deadly sense of danger enveloping his entire body. Ever since he became a great emperor, he thought that he was invincible. There was no other way for him to die except from old age. But today, he truly felt the moment of death. If he was stomped by Xiaoping, even though he was an emperor-level powerhouse, he would still be stomped to death, leaving nothing behind. It's over, it's all over now. The other dragon human kings were also frightened when they saw this scene. Even though Grand was a fake, he was still an emperor-level powerhouse, and his strength far exceeded that of a king. If he were to die here today, the dragon human race would lose a great emperor-level expert. To the dragon human race, this was an unbearable loss. Stop! Suddenly, a loud roar came from Dragon God City. It sounded like a thunderclap from the ninth heaven or a nuclear explosion. The sound waves rolled, and the roar of a heavenly dragon spread for 100 miles, stacking layer by layer. This roar had the power to change heaven and earth, and it had the power to shatter mountains. These sound waves transformed into swords and sabers, attacking Xiaoping like hundreds of millions of soldiers and horses. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He felt 4 terrifying auras immediately emerge from the depths of Dragon God City. Evidently, they saw that Great Emperor Grand was about to be stomped to death by him, and the situation was critical. It was the 10 dragon human emperors who were cultivating in seclusion. They could no longer sit back and watch, so they chose to take action to stop Xiaoping from killing the great emperor of the dragon human race. No matter what, they would not watch the sixth great emperor of the dragon human race die tragically in Dragon God City. Great! The four great emperors have taken action. The dragon human kings were overjoyed. They believed that with the help of the four dragon human emperors, no matter how powerful this human was, he could only die in Dragon God City. Want to stop me? This little power is not enough. Xiaoping sneered. These four dragon human emperors thought that they could stop him from killing Great Emperor Grand by sitting in the depths of Dragon God City and relying on a loud roar. They were dreaming. In the face of this sound wave attack, he did not move. He operated the Northern Dark Body Protection Technique, and a Kuan Peng appeared on his body. Countless runes flowed, forming an oval space barrier. Bang! 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 These swords struck Xiaoping, but it was as if they were bombarding an iron wall. Clanging sounds rang out and dazzling sparks burst out, but they could not hurt Xiaoping in the slightest. They could not even shake the barrier. What? The four dragon human emperors in the depths of Dragon God City exclaimed in surprise. They did not expect that the long-distance attack of four great emperors could not even make Xiaoping retreat half a step. Dying! A cold light flashed in Xiaoping's eyes. He descended from the sky, crushing down like a meteorite, and nothing could stop him. Bastard human, stop at once. How dare you? You killed the dragon human emperor. No matter who you are the enemy of the dragon human race, and we will not rest until you are dead. Hurry up and stop. Are you trying to cause a great disaster? Four angry voices roared, containing extreme anger, a kind of anger, and a kind of anger. They could not stand a little human looking down on the dragon human race. You cowardly scoundrels? Xiaoping sneered, completely ignoring the threat of these dragon human emperors, and stomped down. No! Great Emperor Grand screamed, like an old hen that had been grabbed by the neck, endless fear in his eyes. But it was useless. This stomp was like a falling star, and also like the impact of a meteorite. Boom! With a single strike, Great Emperor Grand's body was blasted into pieces, and his head was directly crushed, turning into a pile of meat paste. A deep pit with a diameter of 10 kilometers immediately appeared on the ground, and soil flew everywhere, and smoke and dust rose. Chapter 1300. No way. Great Emperor Grand is dead. The Dragonians could not help but gasp when they saw this scene. Their pupils constricted, and they could not help but reveal a look of shock. Even though they had experienced countless things, they had never seen a great emperor die in front of them. Ever since the emergence of emperor-level experts in the Dragon God continent, they had rarely died. After all, even an emperor-level expert would find it extremely difficult to kill an expert of the same level. It was easy to defeat, but difficult to kill. If an emperor-level expert wanted to escape, who could kill him? But now, Great Emperor Grand was dead. He was stomped by a human and died on the spot. This fact greatly shocked the Dragonians present. How could this be? The Dragonian elders were trembling. They could not imagine how much of an uproar it would cause if the news of a great emperor being killed by a human were spread. This matter might even shake the foundation of the Dragonians' rule in the Dragon God continent. Human, you are courting death. Bastard, no one in the world can save you. The Dragonians are irreconcilable enemies with you. In an instant, four terrifying auras erupted from the depths of Dragon God City and shot into the sky. They flew out and quickly arrived at the city gates of Dragon God City. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The ones who appeared in front of the Dragonians were the other four great emperors of the Dragonian race. They had all appeared in front of Xiaoping. At this moment, they were all enraged. Their eyes were bloodshot, and their bodies exuded a terrifying aura. They were like majestic mountains that could not be shaken. They wanted nothing more than to get rid of this human who had killed Great Emperor Grand in front of them. The great emperors have made their move. The Dragonian elders were overjoyed. The four dragon great emperors who had been cultivating in seclusion had finally come out. They believed that with the four dragon great emperors here, Xiaoping would definitely not be able to continue his arrogance. The four dragon great emperors were the stabilizing force of the Dragonian race. With them here, the matter would be settled. Are you here to court death again? Xiaoping raised his brows and looked at the four dragon great emperors. Go to hell. One of the dragon grand martial emperors was enraged. He didn't waste any time with words and stabbed out with his purple spear. This spear strike was extremely terrifying. It controlled the power of thunder and lightning in the world. It was as if a huge thunder array had appeared in the void, communicating with the power of thunder and lightning in the world. Dong! A bolt of purple lightning turned into a lightning dragon that roared and continuously spun. It contained the power to pierce through space as it charged towards Xiaoping with incredible speed. Die! The other Dragon Grand Emperor also attacked. He had no intention of showing mercy to this human murderer who killed Grand Emperor Grand, nor did he have any interest in talking about morality. Only by using the might of a thunderbolt to completely annihilate this human would he be able to vent the anger in his heart. He held the long sword in his hand and manipulated the power of the wind. It was as if the heaven and earth formation in the depths of his body had resonated with the wind. He had become the ruler of the wind, and all the air currents were under his control. Xiao, xiao, xiao. As he brandished his sword, sword chi surged and condensed into streams of sharp blades. They were so sharp that even diamonds could be easily sliced into countless pieces. The number of these wind blades was astonishing. Tens of thousands of them quickly covered Xiaoping's body. The two great emperor experts attacked at the same time, and the power that erupted was far more than that of Grand Emperor. Moreover, they were extremely fast, so fast that the Dragon Human King could not see them clearly. In just an instant, the attacks of the two great emperors arrived at Xiaoping's side. Dark North Body Protection Technique. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a glimmer of coldness. Although the speed of the two great emperor experts was very fast, his divine sense was too strong and extremely sensitive to attacks, so he reacted in an instant. A layer of space barrier immediately appeared on his body, like the patterns on the shell of an ancient divine turtle. It contained countless runes flowing like water. Bang, bang, bang. The power of thunder and lightning and the power of the wind blades directly attacked this space barrier, clanging sounds and bursting into dazzling sparks. It was as if it had been hit countless times by meteorites. The power was amazing. But even if these two forces were extremely powerful, they could not break through the defense of Dark North Body Protection Technique. The space barrier-like protective cover was undamaged. How could this be? The two great emperors were aghast. Although they had repeatedly overestimated Xiaoping's strength, they did not expect that their attacks with all their strength could not break through his defense. This damned monster! The faces of many Dragon Man elders turned green, and their bodies were trembling. Even two great Dragon Human Emperors couldn't kill this human. How monstrous would this human be before he would give up? I don't believe that I can't break your tortoise shell. Go to hell. The third Dragon Human Emperor made his move. He snorted coldly. Martial arts magical ability, landslide. Suddenly, a huge formation of heaven and earth appeared in the void. The lines were densely packed, outlining the void, and the earth element of heaven and earth quickly gathered together. Crash! Immediately, a large amount of soil and rocks fell from the sky like a natural disaster, drowning everything. Especially the large number of rocks that rolled down, the surface of which contained mysterious rune formations, were incomparably hard and indestructible. Even a cultivator of the Great Emperor Realm would be seriously injured by this move. Kill. Dragon Human Race Magical Ability. Dragon Flame Spear. The fourth Dragon Human Emperor also made his move. He had mastered a fire magical ability, and his whole body emitted scarlet flames, as if a fire dragon had come to life. He punched out. Swish! Endless scarlet flames gathered together and quickly condensed into a long flame spear, which was then hurled at Xiaoping. This was an earth-shattering spear that could destroy everything. The surrounding Dragon Man kings widened their eyes in shock, because this flame was the famous dragon fire of the Dragon Man race. known as the inextinguishable flame. If the enemy was hit by this dragon flame spear, their chest would definitely be pierced. Even if the chest was not pierced, if the enemy's body was touched by the dragon fire, they would be burned to ashes. This was a sure kill move. Not bad. Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. Even though his Dark North protective art was very strong, the power of 4 great Emperor Realm experts was beyond the range of his protective art. However, he did not just take a beating. In an instant, he activated his bloodline and immediately activated the Golden Crow of Hell physique. Boom! His body immediately underwent an earth-shattering change. A pair of Golden Crow of Hell wings appeared behind his back, and his whole body was condensed from flames, burning the void. His right eye immediately turned into a sun, blazing with flames and spinning continuously. A swastika symbol appeared in the depths of his pupil, which contained an unfathomable, mysterious power. His heart also turned into lava, beating continuously, powerful and forceful. His blood turned into lava, and the surrounding temperature also underwent an earth-shattering change, rising rapidly. Chapter 1301. What? Many Dragonians discovered that Xiaoping's body had undergone an earth-shattering transformation, and they could feel an aura several times more terrifying than before coming from him. Oh my god, did this freak not use his full strength just now? Many Dragonians wailed. They had thought that Xiaoping had used his full strength just now, but now it seemed that the strength he had displayed was only the tip of the iceberg. This damned human strength was unfathomable, and they couldn't see where his bottom line was. The 4 Dragon Grand Emperors felt even more deeply. They discovered that Xiaoping's new form wasn't as simple as just an increase in his aura. His body was filled with an ancient, chaotic, noble, and other aura. This bloodline gave them a feeling that it surpassed the dragon god of the ancient era and was a being from another dimension. Although this aura was only in its embryonic form, its potential was boundless, and it wasn't something the Dragonians could compare to. In the blink of an eye, the dragon flame spear struck, tearing through the air with terrifying penetrative power. Dong! Xiaoping didn't move. He reached out with his hand and instantly caught the spear form from the dragon flame. Haha! You actually dared to catch the dragon flame spear? Are you courting death? Burn him to death. The dragon flame will burn this monster to death. The Dragon Grand Emperor laughed heartily, as if his plan had succeeded. But in the next second, he was so shocked that his eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. This was because Xiaoping had directly grabbed the dragon flame spear, placed it in his mouth, and started munching on it as if he was eating an ice cream cone. After he finished eating, he also let out a burp. Damn, this was the dragon flame, an extraordinary flame of heaven and earth. It was an inextinguishable flame that could incinerate everything, and now he was eating it raw. How could he be so unreasonable? The Dragon Grand Emperor's eyes turned green, and his heart was going crazy. He couldn't understand why this was happening. Die! The 3rd Dragon Grand Emperor's face was twisted. He activated all the magic power in his body, and a large amount of mud and rocks rolled down from the void, drowning everything. Like meteorites, rocks smashed down, destroying everything. This move had the power to destroy the world. Not long ago, he had used this move to drown an entire human city, killing millions and millions of people, and turning an area of 1,000 miles into a dead zone that couldn't be restored even after 1,000 years. Sun God Fist. Xiaoping didn't even look and punched the air. This punch contained the power of the mystical flame in his body. It was truly like the blazing sun in the sky, illuminating the world. It was filled with intense, pure yang qi, and any cold yin qi was burned to ashes. Even though they were 100 miles away and there was still the defensive formation of Dragon God City, the Dragonoid kings could still feel the boundless heat. It was as though their bodies were about to melt under such flames. Even the walls of Dragon God City were showing signs of melting into lava. It was as if they were about to collapse at any moment. Boom! This punch pierced through the ages and shattered the void. A large amount of mud and rocks instantly exploded and turned into powder. Pooh! The dragon great emperor could feel the fist energy seeping into his body. The tyrannical flame energy spread to his 5 viscera and 6 bowels, burning him up in an instant. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Just like that, his entire body was sent flying, smashing through more than a dozen mountains. Mountain rocks shattered, and he flew for dozens of kilometers before stopping. Too strong. All the Dragonoid kings knew what they should say. Although they didn't know how strong an Emperor Realm expert was, there was no doubt that this human Xiaoping's strength was a little too much. The 4 Dragon Great Emperors couldn't suppress him even after joining hands, and were instead countered by him. Previously, Grand Emperor Grand wasn't a match for this human. Grand wasn't a weak Great Emperor, but this human was too strong, making Grand Emperor Grand look weak. Kill. The 4 Dragon Great Emperors looked at each other. They were completely serious now. They knew that this human Xiaoping's strength was not to be underestimated. Although he was only at the King Realm, his strength was even more terrifying than an ordinary Emperor Realm expert. In a one-on-one fight, they weren't his match at all. If they didn't join hands now, they would definitely be defeated one by one and die without a burial. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 4 figures attacked in an instant. They naturally split into 4 directions and surrounded Xiaoping. At the same time, they erupted with wind, earth, lightning, and fire elemental energy. These 4 energies fused together, forming a huge formation that crushed down. Come at me. Xiaoping was still fearless. He controlled the infernal golden crow's wings and continuously teleported through the void. He split into 4 figures and fought with the 4 Dragon Great Emperors, punching and kicking. With each punch and kick, the terrifying deviant flame in his body erupted, burning the void. Bang! Bang! Suddenly, countless explosions rang out in the air, as if a nuclear bomb had gone off. The surrounding heaven and earth yuan qi was shattered, and the air was pushed away, forming a vacuum. Terrifying energy exploded, spreading out in all directions. The air vibrated hundreds of thousands of times, producing an extremely powerful destructive force. As Xiaoping fought with the 4 Dragon Great Emperors, he continuously teleported through the air. The ground within 1,000 li trembled, and huge craters were blasted out, sending soil flying everywhere. The mountains in the distance collapsed, and countless birds and beasts fled in fright. Xiaoping punched out, and the flames landed on the ground, immediately setting a mountain on fire. The fire raged, turning it into a sea of fire. Even the rocks were melted into magma, and the flames didn't extinguish even after 100 years. The strength of the 4 Dragon Great Emperors was also very terrifying. A wind blade swept over, and 1,000 zhang tall mountain was flattened. Large amounts of rocks collapsed with a rumble. Bolts of lightning descended from the sky, immediately blasting out huge craters that were tens of kilometers wide. Water gushed out from the depths of the earth, forming a lake. The remaining forces also affected Dragon God City. Initially, Dragon God City's restrictive array formation defenses were extremely terrifying and could withstand the attacks of an Emperor-level powerhouse. But now, they were on the verge of collapsing. Dense cracks had appeared on the originally transparent energy barrier like spiderwebs. This force even seeped into the interior of Dragon God City, causing the ground to crack, as if the entire city was about to be split into a dozen pieces. Many of the Dragonians were shocked. This was the might of a great emperor. If not for the formation of Dragon God City, they would have long been turned into ashes by the shockwaves. But even so, if the battle continued like this, the entire Dragon God City would be reduced to nothingness. Quick retreat. Dragon God City is no longer safe. Retreat immediately. Elites of the race, we cannot die in a battle between great emperors. Stay 1,000 li away from Dragon God City. Leave quickly. The Dragonian elders ordered. They were so frightened by such an intense battle that their faces had turned green. Even Dragon God City, which was known as the safest fortress of the dragon human race, did not give them any sense of security. Chapter 1302. What a powerful force. What a terrifying flame. After exchanging hundreds of punches, the four dragon Grand Emperors were astonished. They could feel boundless power from Xia Ping's body, as if it was endless. He was only at the king realm and couldn't borrow the power of heaven and earth, but his own strength was enough to fight against their emperor-level strength, even numbing their hands and feet. If they were also at the king realm, a single punch from him would be enough to destroy their bodies. What shocked them even more was the power of the flame on his body. It was no weaker than the dragon fire. If they hadn't dodged fast enough, they would have been burned to ashes. Even so, they felt their scalps go numb. They were afraid that if they were careless and got hit by the flame, they would really die in one punch. The four dragon Grand Emperors also felt the helplessness that Grand Emperor Glenn had felt. This human was a monster, and there seemed to be a true dragon living in his body. Continue. Compared to these dragon Grand Emperors, Xia Ping was extremely excited. His blood was boiling. Fighting with them, he could feel the true meaning of power, especially in a life and death battle. The formation of heaven and earth became more and more obvious in his divine sense. With his divine sense, he could feel the formation inside the four dragon Grand Emperors' bodies. It seemed to communicate with the power of wind, fire, lightning, and earth. Such a formation was not imagined, but innate. Many veins appeared in the void, and these naturally formed veins combined to form a formation of heaven and earth. Mastering such a formation was equivalent to mastering the power of heaven and earth. Truly mysterious, too wonderful for words. Xia Ping's heart became more and more calm. He felt neither joy nor sorrow, as if his divine sense had fused with the void, comprehending the power of heaven and earth. Under the intense battle, the originally incomprehensible power of heaven and earth was now incomparably clear. It was like a peerless beauty taking off her clothes and letting everyone look at her. Xia Ping felt that there were no mysteries in heaven and earth. His aura fused with the void, and his movements were as smooth as flowing water. He had already stepped into the realm of being one with heaven. His moves were also natural, and his power was constantly rising. The more he comprehended, the more confident he was in stepping into the treasure refinement realm. It could be said that this was many times better than taking large amounts of medicinal pills. Bang, bang, bang. Xia Ping and the four dragon Grand Emperors fought intensely. 5 figures appeared in the air, clashing madly with each other. Deafening explosions rang out, like meteors crashing into each other. Damn it, this human strength is constantly increasing. Damn it, he's using us as whetstones. He's merely at the king realm, yet he's already so terrifying. How terrifying would he be if he's really allowed to step into the emperor realm? The four dragon great sovereigns felt incomparably sullen, their hearts filled with anger. As grand great sovereigns, they were the supreme experts of this world, invincible. Yet now, they were being played like fools, used as whetstones. What kind of humiliation was that? If they could, they wished they could slap this arrogant human to death. Who did he think their dragon Grand Emperor was? A sparring partner for this bastard, a stepping stone? However, this human was just too powerful. Even if they were unwilling, they could only accompany Xia Ping in his cultivation and act as sparring partners. This was not something they could change. The more they fought, the more anxious they became. If Xia Ping really broke through to the Emperor realm because of this battle, then no one would be able to stop him. At that time, the dragon human race will be dead. At this instant, Xia Ping was about to punch out and send the four dragon great sovereigns flying when he suddenly felt a great danger approaching. His hair stood on end as if he had fallen into a fatal trap. Boom! All of a sudden, a black shadow appeared in the depths of the void. This shadow was so black that even light that came into contact with it would distort and even devour it. His attack was earth-shattering. He aimed at Xia Ping's flaws and launched a thunderous attack. A fist smashed out, containing terrifying darkness power that seemed to be able to devour everything. It had a terrifying power that could pierce through the ground and directly landed on Xia Ping's body. Dong! The power of this fist was extremely terrifying. It was a peak attack of the Emperor realm. Even Xia Ping's Dark North protective art couldn't withstand it and was instantly pierced through. The power of this fist even penetrated Xia Ping's abdomen. The fist passed through just like that. Whoosh! Immediately, this black shadow stood in the void and revealed his original appearance. This was an old man dressed in a black dragon robe. He was 3 meters tall, had a hooked nose, blue hair, and blue eyes. He exuded a terrifying royal aura, as if he had been in a high position for a long time and controlled the lives of millions. Emperor Caesar. Many dragon-human elders cried out in surprise. They could all tell that the person who attacked was the oldest and most powerful emperor of the dragon-human race, Emperor Caesar. There were many legends about Emperor Caesar. He was known as the strongest Emperor realm expert in the history of the dragon-human race. He was overflowing with talent and was the pillar of the dragon-human race, the true ruler. Usually, Emperor Caesar would cultivate in seclusion in the forbidden land of the dragon god and study the things left behind by the dragon god. He would not come out until the dragon-human race was exterminated. But to think that the great Emperor Caesar would appear right now. Not only that, the moment he appeared, he gave that human Xia Ping a fatal blow, piercing through his abdomen. Lord Caesar has attacked, and it's a sneak attack. The 4 dragon-human emperors were also extremely surprised. They didn't expect that Emperor Caesar, who was cultivating in seclusion in the depths of Dragon God City, would also attack. Moreover, he had concealed himself in the void with his dark magic and had been patiently waiting for an opportunity to deliver a fatal blow. Obviously, Emperor Caesar's attack was extremely successful and caught this human off guard. However, they were also shocked that the self-proclaimed invincible Emperor Caesar would be so shameless as to attack this human expert. One could imagine the pressure this human brought to the dragon-human emperor. Obviously, Emperor Caesar also thought that this human was extremely dangerous and tyrannical. If it wasn't a sneak attack, it would be very difficult to find an opportunity to kill this human. Although a sneak attack was very despicable, this was a life-and-death crisis for the dragon-human race. This was a battle to exterminate the race. So, no matter what, it should be done. In this world, the winner takes all. If he had to blame someone, he could only blame this human for being too naive and coming to Dragon God City alone. If he didn't die, then who would? Xia Ping of the human race? You are indeed a very dangerous human. Even I, Caesar, had to hide for a very long time before I found your flaw and attacked. Emperor Caesar stood with his hands clasped behind his back, an arrogant look on his face. But no matter how powerful you are, you've lost half your life after taking a blow from me. You should just die obediently. Everything about you will be obliterated in the long river of history, and you will become a stepping stone for the dragon-human race to dominate, another pathetic challenger. He looked at Xia Ping as if he was looking at a dead man. It's indeed a good punch, but it's not enough to take my life. Xia Ping looked indifferently at Emperor Caesar. What? Emperor Caesar and the other dragon-human emperors were shocked because they saw that there was no blood dripping from Xia Ping's abdomen that had been pierced through. Only magma-like liquid could be seen, and flames were burning everywhere. Chapter 1303. Impossible. Many Dragonians were shocked. They couldn't believe their eyes. What kind of being could recover in a few breaths' time after being punched through the abdomen? This was simply unimaginable. But how could they know that Xia Ping was no ordinary human? He had condensed the Golden Crow physique. The legendary Golden Crow of Hell didn't have a real body, but was condensed from flames. It existed between reality and illusion, existing in the void. It was a ruler born from the depths of the flames, a true sentient life form. Even if its wings were chopped off, its body pierced, its head chopped off, and its claws chopped off, as long as the flames didn't extinguish, it would rapidly recover. This was the undying body of the Golden Crow of Hell. Although his Golden Crow physique hadn't reached the grand completion realm yet, it had already completed the initial phase of elemental transformation. He could turn his entire body into flames. In this way, even if his arms were chopped off or his abdomen pierced, as long as his magic power wasn't exhausted, he would recover in a few breaths' time. And because of the golden crow of Hell's heart, his body's recovery speed was tens of times, maybe even hundreds of times faster than ordinary people. Kaiser was dumbfounded. In order to deal a fatal blow to Xiaoping, he had endured for a long time and punched through Xiaoping's abdomen, thinking that it would end his life. But who would have thought that in a few breaths' time, the other party would recover without a scratch? This scene was too exaggerated. Could it be that he had an undying body? Since you've all appeared, then you can all die. Xiaoping's eyes flashed with a terrifying light that seemed capable of piercing through the void. The wings on his back flapped, and with extreme speed, he punched towards the nearby Dragonians. Martial Path Divine Ability, Sun God Fist. This fist was like the arrival of the sun, blazing with flames and exuding boundless yang qi. Under such a scorching sun, any power would be completely vaporized. Not good. The Dragonians who used the power of lightning paled. This fist was aimed at him, and he could feel the threat of death. But he couldn't react in time. What happened earlier was too shocking, and his mind was still in a state of confusion, trying to figure out why this had happened. But no matter what, he was still an Emperor-level expert. In a hurry, he immediately circulated the magic power in his body, quickly covering his body with a layer of lightning energy armor. Lightning crackled around him, and there were lightning runes swimming around. Dong! The punch landed squarely on the Dragon Grand Emperor's body. It's over. The Dragon Great Sovereign's face was ashen. He thought that his move would be able to block Xiaoping's attack, but Xiaoping's fist art simply surpassed his imagination. Only when this fist was about to hit him did he realize how terrifying this fist was. It contained boundless heat, as if the other party was holding a sun in his hand and smashing it over. Not only did it contain the power to shatter stars, but more importantly, the terrifying heat directly seeped into his lungs, instantly roasting his internal organs. Boom! In the next second, his body was blasted into pieces and even turned to ashes under the flames. A mighty Dragon Grand Emperor was beaten to death just like that. Emperor Kair, everyone, including the great Emperor Caesar, was dumbfounded when they saw the Dragon Man Emperor being killed. If it was before, killing Grand Emperor Grant wouldn't be a big deal. After all, he was just one person. But now, 5 great sovereigns had come together and killed a great sovereign right under their noses. This was no longer as simple as slapping their faces. It was simply a humiliation to them to death, trampling them until there wasn't a single piece of skin left unscathed. Many Dragon Man elders died in grief and indignation. Another Dragon Grand Emperor had died. Today was simply the anniversary of the Dragon Man race's death. The losses they suffered were more terrible than any war in the past. I'll kill you. A Dragon Grand Emperor who controlled the power of wind roared towards the sky. He and Emperor Kair were like brothers, and seeing Kair explode with a single punch and disappear from the world, one could imagine how furious he was right now. His body contained the power of a storm. With his body as the center, countless air currents seemed to revolve, forming a storm. Violent air currents burst out, wanting to attack Xiaoping. Kill me? Are you qualified? Xiaoping didn't even look at him and immediately took out the Hell Spear. Martial Arts Mystique. Head-piercing 7 arrows art. Using the Hell Spear as a hidden weapon, he imbued tyrannical magic power into it. Like a spear thrown by an ancient deity, he instantly threw the spear out. A tyrannical divine sense locked onto the Dragon Grand Emperor, seemingly leaving Xiaoping's spiritual mark on his body. With his spiritual mark, no matter how he tried to escape or dodge, he couldn't escape death. Swish! The Hell Spear flew out like a missile, surpassing 100 times the speed of sound and hiding in the void. A mysterious power wrapped around the Hell Spear. No matter how fast it was, nothing happened to the surrounding air. It was as if the surrounding air waves were easily smoothed out. With a tearing sound, the Hell Spear instantly pierced through the power of the storm and continuously revolved, tearing through the air barrier and directly penetrating into the Dragon Grand Emperor's body. Dong! Immediately, his body was easily pierced through like a piece of paper. Blood gushed out just like that, and he was nailed in midair like a sinner. This. Originally, the Dragon Grand Emperor was still roaring and wanting to deal a fatal blow to Xiaoping, but in the next second, the hell spear pierced through his chest. His eyes were wide open, and astonishment and shock could be seen in the depths of his pupils. He couldn't believe that he was so easily killed by a human and had his heart destroyed. An intense pain spread throughout his body. An unprecedented darkness quickly shrouded his thoughts. Bang! Soon, his body lost all strength, and his soul fell into the endless darkness. Just like that, he fell from midair and smashed into the ground. He fell to the ground, and his legs twitched a few times as if unwilling to die just like that. But after a few seconds, his body could no longer move. His neck tilted, and he lost all signs of life. Even if the dragon god was here, he probably wouldn't be able to revive him. Another great emperor died. You must be joking. Nightmare. This is definitely a nightmare. The Dragon Man elders were numb, and they didn't know what to say anymore. Just a moment ago, they were filled with anger and hatred over the death of a great emperor, and now another one had died. Great emperors died like weeds, without any value. Chapter 1304. The remaining 2 dragon human emperors were filled with unimaginable fear. As emperor-level experts and the strongest experts of the dragon god continent, they shouldn't be feeling such emotions. However, 2 great emperors had died in an instant, so they couldn't help but feel this way. In terms of strength, they were almost on par with the 2 dead great emperors. Therefore, if that human expert could easily kill Kaiser, he could naturally kill them as well. This wasn't a fantasy, but an ironclad fact. Emperor Caesar's expression was extremely gloomy. No one could imagine how angry he was at this moment. Large amounts of dark aura emanated from his body, seemingly distorting light and forming a black hole that devoured the surrounding energy. You ambushed me once, so I killed 2 of your great emperors. This is very fair. Xiaoping stood with his hands clasped behind his back, looking indifferently at Emperor Caesar and the other dragon human emperors. Fair my ass. Human, you're dead for sure. No one can save you. Emperor Caesar was completely enraged. With a whoosh, he instantly turned into a wisp of black smoke and disappeared on the spot. Darkness, divine ability, shadow, shift. In the blink of an eye, his entire body merged with the void, becoming invisible and blending into the darkness. It was as if even his aura had disappeared from this world. This was Emperor Caesar's unique martial divine ability. He could turn into darkness and hide in blind spots, concealing his aura so that no one could find him. Just now, he had used this divine ability to make everyone unable to find him, thus finding an opportunity to deliver a fatal blow. If Xiaoping hadn't successfully condensed the Golden Crow body of hell, he would have been severely injured even if he didn't die from that punch. Once upon a time, Emperor Caesar was the king of assassins on the Dragon God continent. Those who were targeted by him would definitely die, and no one could escape from his assassination. With the tyrannical darkness divine ability of the dragon human race, his assassination had always been successful. Even if the other 5 dragon human emperors joined forces, they wouldn't be a match for him. Do you think I'll give you another chance? Xiaoping sneered. Just now, he had been ambushed by Emperor Caesar because he was caught off guard. Now that he was prepared, there was no way Emperor Caesar could hide from him. Golden Crow Eyes of Hell. Immediately, he opened his right eye and activated the Golden Crow Eyes of Hell. A spinning sun emitted a divine light that could see through the void. It swept across the area, revealing every corner. Found it. Almost in the time of breath, he immediately saw a black shadow flying in the air, moving strangely and quickly towards his side. Dong! Xiaoping was not polite at all. He suddenly punched out, shaking and exploding. Scorching flames burst out, engulfing that area. Suddenly, the black shadow let out a shrill scream. It was obvious that he was burned by the scorching yang qi. His entire body was scorched black, and he was even injured. In the next second, the black shadow revealed its original appearance. It was Julius Caesar. His entire body was in a sorry state, and his body was charred black. He was shocked and angry, obviously not knowing how his whereabouts were so easily discovered by Xiaoping. You're known as the strongest emperor of the Dragon Men, yet you're only capable of this? You're just a coward who hides your head but shows your tail? Don't tell me you don't know any other moves besides sneak attacks. What a disappointment. Xiaoping stood with his hands behind his back and looked at great Emperor Caesar indifferently. Bastard human, you've completely infuriated me. Hearing these words, great Emperor Caesar was so angry that smoke was coming out of his nostrils. As the strongest emperor of the Dragon Men, he was the strongest even in the Dragon God continent. Now, he was actually looked down upon by a human and thought of as a despicable person who only knew how to sneak attacks. How could he bear such contempt and humiliation? He was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Dragonman's magical ability, dark space. Boom! Immediately, great Emperor Caesar waved his hand, and a dark formation immediately appeared in the sky. It outlined a dense line, and suddenly, a huge black hole was formed, as if it was connected to the endless world of darkness. A large amount of dark energy surged out from this formation. In the time of a few breaths, this mass of energy had spread to a radius of 100 miles, shrouding the entire area. The speed at which it spread was so fast that even Xiaoping could not avoid it. A cold light flashed in Xiaoping's eyes. He immediately felt that his body had fallen into a dark space. His surroundings were in a state of nothingness. He could see nothing, hear nothing, and could not even feel anything. This was a state of nothingness, as if he was already a dead person. Haha, this is my unique magical ability, dark space. In this space, you can't see, hear, speak, or know anything. You're just like a dead person. Let me ask you, how can you resist me? Emperor Julius Caesar laughed heartily. He was extremely arrogant and proud of himself, as if he had finally vented his anger. However, after a while, Xiaoping's voice still didn't return. He patted his head as if he had thought of something. Oh, right, I almost forgot. In this dark space, you can't hear anything, and you can't reply. No wonder you didn't reply. In the distance, when great Emperor Caesar activated the dark space, the other two dragon human emperors also managed to escape in time because they were very familiar with great Emperor Caesar's magical ability. What a terrifying darkness magical ability. Every time I see it, I shudder. Isn't that so? He can't see, hear, speak, or see anything. What else can he do? He's no different from a vegetable. That's right. Great Emperor Caesar can move freely. It can be said that he is an invincible existence in this dark space. No one could defeat him. It's not a joke that great Emperor Caesar can fight 1 against 10. It's a fact. This human is finally going to die. It can be considered quite amazing to have provoked great Emperor Caesar to use his natural magical ability. However, it's better for a monster like him to die quickly. Otherwise, our Dragon Man race will definitely not be a match for him. The two dragon human emperors heaved a sigh of relief. Seeing Xiaoping fall into the dark space, they felt much more at ease. It was impossible for him to escape after falling into the dark space. When the dark space disappeared, it would be the time of Xiaoping's death. Die. At this time, a cold light flashed in great Emperor Caesar's eyes. He turned into a wisp of black smoke and merged with the dark space. With a sharp black dagger in his hand, he silently approached Xiaoping, wanting to give him a fatal blow. Although he was full of confidence, it was better to get rid of this human monster as soon as possible. Otherwise, if he were to fail miserably at such an easy task, it would be very funny. Interesting. Chapter 1305. Dark Space? What a powerful mystique. Xiaoping exclaimed. He realized that even with the Golden Crow's Eye of Hell bloodline mystique, he could barely see a silhouette in the darkness. One could imagine how others would fare. In this dark space, ordinary people would be completely blind and at the mercy of others. Moreover, if Emperor Caesar was a little stronger, his Golden Crow's Eye of Hell would be useless. It would be as if he had sunk into darkness and couldn't see anything. Of course, if the golden crow's eye of hell continued to evolve, the dark space wouldn't be able to withstand its power. This was a power that restrained each other. Just like water and fire, the stronger one would be able to suppress the other. Murderous intent. Xiaoping squinted his eyes. In the depths of his pupils, he immediately saw a black shadow silently attacking him with a dagger. It seemed to want to get close to him and stab his heart. For Emperor Caesar, who had mastered the power of darkness, this dark space was like a fish in water. It was like his own home, so he could move freely. Swoosh! At this moment, Emperor Caesar made his move. With the dagger in his hand, he immediately stabbed forward. This stab was like an antelope hanging its horn. It was untraceable and extremely ruthless. His face revealed a ferocious expression. It was as if he could see the look of despair on this damned human's face when he stabbed him to death. However, he was soon shocked. What? This was because Emperor Caesar realized that Xiaoping suddenly waved his fist. It was like a missile, accurately smashing towards his left eye with more than 10,000 tons of force. With a bang, he felt his face being smashed into a deformed shape. His entire body was sent flying. Even a few teeth flew out, and he spat out blood. Impossible. Could it be that he can see my whereabouts in this dark space? Emperor Caesar was a little dumbfounded by this punch. This was unprecedented. He had never experienced the feeling of being hit in the dark space. This was the first time something like this had happened. Coincidence? It's definitely a coincidence. He must have unintentionally waved his fist and hit me. Damn human, what a lucky brat. Emperor Caesar gritted his teeth. He firmly believed that this was just a lucky punch from Xiaoping. It was impossible for him to see his whereabouts in this dark space. Swoosh! He once again turned into a wisp of black smoke and quietly hid. This time he planned to circle behind Xiaoping. He believed that even if this brat waved his fists everywhere, he would not be able to hit him. Die, human. Great Emperor Caesar cackled. He wanted to stab this bastard to death with his dagger. Dong! However, it was as if Xiaoping had eyes on the back of his head. He suddenly turned around and fiercely punched the great Emperor Caesar again. This time, he smashed the great Emperor Caesar's right eye, causing a pair of panda eyes. With a blood-curdling scream, the great Emperor Caesar was sent flying. Fresh blood spurted out, and intense pain spread throughout his body. Damn it, did he grow eyes in the back of his head? Emperor Caesar's face turned green. He couldn't understand how this bastard could hit him so accurately every time. It was as if he could really see his face. Wait, he saw me? Could this guy really see him? Otherwise, how could he explain what had just happened? At this time, Emperor Caesar finally understood why he was repeatedly hit by Xiaoping. This kid could definitely see his tracks. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to hit him twice. Brat, you actually dare to trick me. I definitely won't forgive you. Spatial suppression. Emperor Caesar was infuriated. He formed a seal with both hands and immediately controlled the dark space. Endless dark energy surged and collapsed towards the center of the space. Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. He felt his body being crushed from all directions. It was as if every corner of his body was enduring a terrifying pressure. It was as if he was going to be crushed into a piece of white paper. In this dark space, there was nowhere for him to escape. He could only forcefully endure this oppressive force. Obviously, Emperor Caesar had realized that he couldn't assassinate Xiaoping in the dark space. Hence, he decided to use absolute strength to crush Xiaoping into meat paste. Break for me! A cold light flashed in Xiaoping's eyes. After staying in this dark space for such a long time, he also understood some of the characteristics of this dark space. It was purely a space of nothingness formed by dark energy. He was most proficient in this kind of space formed by dark energy. Martial Path Mystique, Sun God Fist. In an instant, the power of 5 extraordinary fires surged out of his body. The essence of the sun, the fire of drought, the spiritual fire of the earth, the fire of life, and the dragon fire. 5 clusters of flames burned in this dark space. These extraordinary fires surged out and burned the space. In particular, the flames of the essence of the sun surged out. This was a terrifying flame that could burn all impurities. Any negative, dark energy would turn into nothingness in front of the essence of the sun. Crackle, crackle, in an instant, the entire dark space collapsed. Terrifying large holes were burned in it. Endless dark energy melted like snow. It was rapidly burned by the essence of the sun, turning into wisps of black aura that disappeared in this space. Oh no! Emperor Caesar's expression changed drastically. He felt that the power of these extraordinary fires seemed to have penetrated the space and surged towards his body. They were going to burn his entire body into ashes. Outside the dark space, many draconian kings were chatting. 5 minutes had passed since the dark space was cast. 4 great emperor-level experts, they had lost count of how many times they had fought during this period. How long do you think it will take for Emperor Caesar to kill the human Xiaoping? At most 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, he will definitely die. Yeah, he's already a monster if he can resist for 5 minutes. Ordinary great emperor-level experts can only last for 1 minute in this dark space. Soon, we will see this human's corpse on the ground. When this brat dies, I will definitely hang his corpse on the city gate and let it be exposed to the sun for 3 days and 3 nights as a warning to others. Many draconian kings laughed coldly. They had already thought of how they would use the corpse of this human great emperor to vent their anger after Xiaoping's death. Boom! At this moment, the entire dark space shattered like glass, turning into countless fragments. Immediately, the scene in this space was revealed. With a sound, Emperor Caesar could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. His entire body was sent flying and smashed into the ground, creating a huge crater. Soil flew everywhere. At this moment, his breathing was very weak, and his face was ashen. Clearly, he had been severely injured. Xiaoping stood in midair, looking down from above. He was unharmed, and his body was wrapped in flames like a god of fire. Impossible. Chapter 1306. It's over, we're doomed. Even Emperor Julius Caesar can't stop this human. Who else can stop him? Is our dragon god city going to be destroyed by this despicable human today? Many dragon people were in despair when they saw that Emperor Julius Caesar had been beaten to the ground. They felt that their invincible image in the depths of their hearts had collapsed, and their greatest support was gone. If even the strongest great emperor of the dragon human race couldn't stop Xiaoping, then they were truly doomed. The 2 dragon people great emperor's expressions were also extremely ugly. Even the dark space couldn't kill this human. Just how powerful was he? Why did such a monster appear in the dragon god continent? They clenched their fists tightly and were already prepared to flee. If even Emperor Julius Caesar was killed, then no one in the dragon human race would be able to stop him. If they foolishly tried to stop Xiaoping, perhaps all the great emperors of the dragon human race would die. That would be the end of the dragon human race. No matter what, as great emperors of the dragon human race, they shouldered the future of the dragon human race and couldn't die so easily. Despicable human, you forced me to do this. With a whoosh, Emperor Julius Caesar crawled up from the ground. His eyes were extremely fierce as he glared at Xiaoping, and a terrifying murderous aura emanated from his body. He felt an unprecedented pain in his body. Such a defeat was simply a humiliation that he had never experienced in his life. This made him feel even more humiliated. Immediately, he made a grabbing motion and took out a red horn from his body. There were many strange patterns on the surface of this horn, and countless ancient inscriptions were engraved on it. It seemed to contain the might of a dragon, and a terrifying destructive power resided within it. What is this? Xiaoping had originally wanted to end Emperor Julius Caesar's life, but his pupils contracted when he saw this red horn appear. The golden crow of hell cells in his body gave him a strong warning, as if this weapon would bring him fatal danger. He could feel that this horn was not simple and was made of extraordinary materials. Be careful. This horn is a spiritual weapon. and it's at least a superior-grade spiritual weapon. At this moment, Corinne's voice sounded. Its materials are not simple. If I'm not wrong, it's made from a dragon horn. What? Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. Dragon horns were one of the toughest parts of a dragon's body. They were indestructible, and there was actually a magic treasure that was refined using dragon horns. One could imagine how powerful this magic treasure was. The power it possessed was probably beyond imagination. Dragon God Horn. Seeing the great Emperor Caesar take out this weapon, the surrounding dragon men, including the two dragon human emperors, were shocked, their eyes filled with fear. Clearly, they recognized the true face of this weapon. This was the ultimate weapon of the dragon human race, a powerful magic treasure left behind by the dragon god. Once the dragon god bugle horn was blown, it could unleash the power to destroy heaven and earth. Once upon a time, the emperor of the dragon human race had used the horn of the dragon god and destroyed everything within a radius of 100,000 kilometers. Everything within sight was destroyed. This was a doomsday-level weapon, so it was also called the Horn of Doomsday. This weapon was the ultimate weapon of the dragon human race, and they would not use it unless it was time for the extinction of their race. Of course, that was not the only reason why they were unwilling to use this weapon. After all, this was a powerful magic treasure left behind by the dragon god. It was not something that ordinary dragon men could use. At the very least, one had to be a great emperor to be qualified to use it. In addition, once the dragon god Buglehorn was activated, the magic power in one's body would swarm in and be completely devoured. If the magic power in one's body was insufficient, it would even devour the vitality of the great emperors. Previously, a great emperor had used this dragon god Buglehorn, but after using it, his vitality was completely exhausted. His entire body turned into ashes and no longer existed. Therefore, not many great emperors were willing to use this weapon to perish together with their opponents. Moreover, in the Dragon God continent, there was no race that could force the dragon human emperors to use this magic treasure. Unexpectedly, one had appeared and forced Emperor Caesar to take out the dragon god Buglehorn. Go to hell! Emperor Caesar roared angrily and immediately activated the dragon god Buglehorn. Roar suddenly. The dragon god Buglehorn emitted a red light, and a huge formation appeared in midair. Next, a real dragon appeared from the formation. Its huge body covered the sky, emitting a terrifying dragon's might. The moment it appeared, it immediately roared into the sky. It was as if a real dragon was roaring angrily. Terrifying sound waves spread across a radius of 10,000 miles. The sound waves were extremely terrifying. Layer after layer, the air vibrated billions of times. Any matter in front of such sound waves would be turned into nothingness, completely shaken into atoms. What a terrifying power! Xiaoping's eyes narrowed. This power had already surpassed the treasure refinement realm and was even stronger than the true fire realm. A planet might not even be able to withstand the roar of a real dragon like this, instantly shattering into pieces. Activating such a powerful magic treasure required an astronomical amount of magic power. At that moment, Emperor Caesar's face had already turned red, and a huge amount of his magic power was also being channeled into the dragon god Buglehorn. But for the dragon god Buglehorn, it seemed to be a drop in the bucket. It was completely insufficient. However, this had nothing to do with Xiaoping, because the dragon god Buglehorn's attack was aimed at him. If he couldn't withstand it, he would immediately be shaken into dust and cease to exist. No, I can't take it head on. Otherwise, I'll definitely die. Xiaoping's eyes flashed. The power of the dragon god Buglehorn was too great. Even Dark North's protective technique couldn't withstand it. If he dared to take it head on, he would definitely die. Right? The pearl of mountain and river. At that moment, Xiaoping had a flash of inspiration and remembered the pearl of mountain and river. If it was an ordinary spatial magic treasure, it couldn't withstand the power of the dragon god Buglehorn at all. It might be directly shaken into pieces, and the spatial magic treasure would crack. However, the pearl of mountain and river was once a sacred weapon. Its material was indestructible. Even if it was thrown into the depths of the sun and burned for 10,000 years, it would still be unscathed. Even if it had lost most of the power of the sacred weapon, its defense was still amazing. Whoosh! Thinking of this, Xiaoping's figure flashed and immediately entered the internal space of the pearl of mountain and river. In the blink of an eye, the attack of the dragon god Bugle Horn arrived in an instant. The terrifying sound wave spread, and along the way, mountains were shaken into pieces. There was no explosion, no roar, and the entire world could only hear the loud roar of the true dragon. In this way, the mountains, rivers, valleys, plants, and so on within a radius of 100,000 miles were turned into nothingness. Everything was razed to the ground, as if it was flattened by the hands of the gods. It turned into 100,000 miles of flat land, and not even a blade of grass grew. Oh my God, is this the ultimate weapon of the dragon human race, the dragon god Bugle Horn? Chapter 1307. Even though the dragon people had heard many legends about the dragon god Horn, they had never seen it used and had no clear idea of what it was like. But now, they finally understood how terrifying this weapon was. It was indeed a weapon left behind by the dragon god, the ultimate weapon of the dragon human race. Now that it had unleashed its full power, it had reached a terrifying level. An area of 100,000 kilometers had been flattened just like that. It was neither destruction nor explosion, but flattening and destroying everything so cleanly that no living creature would be left behind. They shuddered at the thought of it. If such a weapon were to fall into the hands of the enemy and attack the city of the dragon human race, no matter how many elite dragon people there were, they would all be turned into ashes. This was simply the power of heaven and could not be resisted. But in this way, Xiaoping of the human race was finally dead. This scourge of the dragon human race was ultimately destroyed by the weapon of the dragon human race. It's over. It's finally over. I didn't think that it would take so much effort to kill a human. Isn't that so? That human is too abnormal. In order to kill him, we actually sacrificed 2 dragon human emperors and even used such a powerful weapon like the dragon god Horn, almost forcing our dragon human race into a desperate situation. What a pity! In order to use the dragon god Horn, Lord Caesar also seems to have died. Many dragon human elders looked relieved and happy, but also sorrowful. All kinds of emotions were tumbling in their hearts, and it was simply a complex feeling. They felt joy at killing the dragon human emperor, but also sorrow at the heavy losses of the dragon human race. They did not know whether to celebrate or mourn after this victory. Wait, Emperor Caesar doesn't seem to be dead. He's still alive. Suddenly, a dragon human elder cried out in surprise and pointed to an empty space outside the city. What? All the Dragonians looked over and saw that Emperor Caesar was still standing on the spot, alive and well. However, he was in a very bad situation. Both of his hands were holding onto the dragon god Horn, and every inch of his skin had cracked open. Blood was dripping from his wounds, turning him into a bloody man. If that was all, it would not have been so bad. His muscles had also withered, and his hair had turned white. He seemed to have aged a few hundred years in an instant, becoming an old man on the verge of death. He looked completely different from the previous emperor. But no matter what, he still survived after using the dragon god Horn. Success. Emperor Caesar clenched his fists and immediately relaxed. He had studied the dragon god Horn for thousands of years after obtaining it, and had finally figured out some tricks to use it. It was true that the horn of the dragon god was extremely powerful, but it required all of the monarch's energy and life force. It was a weapon of mass destruction. Unless it was absolutely necessary, no dragon great emperor was willing to use it. However, through great Emperor Caesar's research, he discovered that he could control the power of the dragon god Horn. For example, if he reduced the power of the dragon god Horn, perhaps he would need less magic power to use it. The result was just as he had expected. He managed to reduce the power of the dragon god Horn by more than half, which allowed him to survive. He was not sucked dry by the dragon god Horn and eventually killed the great enemy of the dragon human race, Xiaoping. The human race is really too dangerous. To think that such a monster would appear. I originally thought that this race was only a weak race and not worth mentioning, but now it seems that we need to eliminate them as soon as possible. Otherwise, if another monster like this appears, the dragon human race won't be able to withstand it. A cold light flashed in Great Emperor Caesar's eyes. Because of Xia Ping's appearance, his vigilance towards the human race had reached an unprecedented level. He was no longer as indifferent and aloof as before. Although the probability of another monster like this appearing in the human race wasn't very high, it didn't mean that it was impossible. If he appeared again, then the dragon human race would be completely finished. No matter how many dragon great emperors died, it wouldn't be enough. He made up his mind that after he recovered from his injuries, he would immediately take out the dragon god horn and destroy the giant cities of the human race one by one. He would kill every single one of them and leave nothing behind. Such a great enemy definitely couldn't be left on the dragon god continent. He absolutely couldn't give them any chance to grow, or the dragon human race might very well be finished. This was a war between races, and there was no room for mercy. Suddenly, just as Great Emperor Caesar was about to take action and return to Dragon God City with the dragon god horn, a figure instantly appeared beside him and a terrifying force attacked him. It's over. Great Emperor Caesar was in utter despair. He had just used the dragon god horn, and his body was in an unprecedentedly weak state. He was even weaker than an ordinary dragon human, so there was no way he could withstand this attack. He roared madly in his heart. Who was it? Who was it? Which son of TCH wanted to take advantage of his perilous situation and take his life? Could it be a certain dragon human elder who had hated him for a long time? Or could it be those two dragon human great emperors who wanted to dominate the dragon human race and felt that he was a hindrance, so they wanted to kill him? Great Emperor Caesar was filled with grief and indignation. He hadn't died in the hands of a human, but today he was going to die in the hands of an internal conflict between his own people. This was the greatest irony and ridiculous. Boom! In the next second, a fist pierced through his chest, and his heart exploded like a watermelon. Blood gushed out. However, because of the powerful vitality of a great emperor, he didn't die even though his heart had been destroyed. What? You're not a dragon human, you're a human. You're Xia Ping. How is this possible? Why aren't you dead yet? Great Emperor Caesar's eyes were ferocious. He wanted to see who had killed him. He didn't want to die with everlasting regret. However, when he saw who had pierced through his chest, he was shocked and his pupils constricted. This was because the person who had killed him was actually that monstrous human, Xia Ping. Not only was Xia Ping not dead, but he had also killed him with a single punch. You ambushed me just now, and now I've ambushed you. We're even. Xia Ping retracted his fist and looked at Julius Caesar calmly. He hid in the pearl of mountains and rivers and evaded the attack of the dragon god horn. He concealed himself on the ground and waited for an opportunity to come out to deal a fatal blow to Great Emperor Caesar and send him on his way. This could be considered an eye for an eye. F*CKU. Great Emperor Caesar was filled with grief and indignation. Xia Ping had an immortal body and could recover on his own, even if he was destroyed, but he was just an ordinary dragon human. After being destroyed, he would really die. How could this be considered even? Why couldn't he kill this bastard human with a single punch? But he was killed with a single punch. Life was too unfair. I can't accept this. I can't accept this. With a bang, his body fell to the ground just like that. Blood flowed all over the ground, and his eyes were wide open. Deep in his pupils, there were expressions of unwillingness, regret, grief, and anger. Clearly, he was very unwilling to be killed by Xia Ping just like that. Chapter 1309. This is the Dragon God Forbidden Ground. Soon, Xia Ping arrived at the deepest part of Dragon God City, where there was an endless mountain range that was incomparably majestic. However, this mountain range was extremely terrifying. With his golden crow hell eyes, he discovered that densely packed formation marks had appeared in the void. Each and every one of them was a powerful restrictive formation that emanated a terrifying aura. It seemed that if he dared to barge in, he would immediately be smashed to pieces by the restrictive power. Not to mention a divine realm cultivator. Even a golden core expert would not be able to last long under this restrictive formation. Corinne, is there any way to pass through this restrictive formation? Xiaoping asked. If he could not pass through the restrictive formation of the dragon god Forbidden Ground, then he would not be able to bring Chu Rong and the others out. With a whizzing sound, Corinne jumped out and stared at the restrictive array formation in front of him, and immediately sucked in a mouthful of cold air. What a frightening restrictive array formation. Could it be that it was arranged by a dragon saint? Even though he was experienced and knowledgeable, he was shocked by the restrictive formation in this area. According to his many years of experience, if he activated the restrictive formation with all his strength, he could even kill a saint. A saint? Xiaoping raised his brows. It seemed that the true dragon who built this true dragon nest had extraordinary strength. It was likely a dragon saint. After all, if he was not a saint, he would not be able to set up such a terrifying restrictive formation. According to Corinne's introduction, this area was not that simple. There were countless forbidden runes engraved in the void, and it also communicated with the power of countless dimensions. If it was forcefully destroyed, it would cause a chain reaction in the restrictive formation. Countless formations would overlap and immediately detonate the void. The power of such an explosion was equivalent to dozens of suns exploding. It could directly blast a black hole into space, and everything within 1,000,000 light years would be razed to the ground, turning everything into nothingness. So powerful? Does that mean that this restrictive formation cannot be broken? Xiaoping frowned. That's not it. Corinne shook his head. If there is a dragon saint guarding this place, then it is naturally a dragon's lair and tiger's den that cannot be barged in. Going in means death. Even a saint would not dare to enter. However, it has been a long time since a sage of the Dragon Clan has visited this place. After countless years of erosion, many flaws have appeared in this restrictive formation. Therefore, as long as we carefully pass through these flaws in the formation, we will be able to reach the deepest part of this area. It was full of confidence. At this point, it changed the topic. But even if there are flaws, it's not something that ordinary people can pass through. One must borrow the power of the stars in order to pass through. Otherwise, I will definitely be reduced to ashes by this restrictive power. Its expression was very serious. They had to borrow the power of the multi-star. Xiaoping's eyes flashed. Even though he knew that this forbidden area was extremely dangerous, he didn't expect it to be this dangerous. If he didn't come to this place, Chu Rong and the others wouldn't know how long it would take for them to come out. Perhaps he wouldn't be able to come out in this lifetime, and could only be trapped inside. At the thought of this, he immediately took out the stars and entered the spaceship. Whoosh! Under Corinne's control, the myriad stars immediately entered the dragon god Forbidden Land without hesitation. The other Dragonians were overjoyed. They didn't expect this human to be so stupid as to really dare to enter the dragon god Forbidden Land. One must know that they had explored the dragon god Forbidden Land countless times. Over the tens of thousands of years, there were countless deaths and injuries, but none of them could enter the dragon god Forbidden Land. This place was classified as an absolute forbidden area where even an emperor-level powerhouse would die if they entered. However, since this human had entered the dragon god Forbidden Land, it meant that this human was dead for sure. There was no way he could come out alive. This is the dragon god Forbidden Land. Xiaoping sat in the stars and saw the situation outside through the virtual projection. As soon as he entered the forbidden area, he was immediately attacked by lightning. Countless purple lightning bolts descended from the void, and it was more terrifying than the heavenly tribulation he had experienced. Each lightning bolt was as thick as a bucket and was extremely powerful. It seemed like one of them could tear the stars apart. This is the purple sky lightning, a terrifying lightning bolt from the depths of the universe. Even a lightning retribution almighty would die if they were hit by it. Corinne introduced. However, even though the lightning bolts were extremely powerful, they were like mosquito bites when they struck the surface of the spaceship. There was no effect at all. Xiaoping only heard a tinkling sound. These lightning bolts had no way to break through the defenses of the stars. Swoosh! The stars quickly passed through this area and arrived at another area. This place was instantly drowned in endless water as if it had turned into an ocean world. The water was azure blue and looked extremely beautiful. It didn't seem to be dangerous. However, Corinne exclaimed, "Oh my God, this is the 10,000 layers soft water. It's strange water from a certain universe's mystic realm. It's extremely heavy and can't even float on a goose feather. Once a living being falls into it, they'll definitely drown and won't be able to climb out. Where did the dragon sage here get so much 10,000 layers soft water from?" It was extremely amazed. Even a star's sect masterback then wasn't so rich to get so much 10,000 layers soft water. "Can I plunder some?" Xiao Ping stroked his chin, feeling that this was a treasure. "Don't even think about it. Once the cabin is opened, the 10,000 layers soft water will immediately surge in. By then, it'll be impossible to expel it. Both you and I will drown." Corinne snapped. "It's one of the strange water that's as famous as the legendary Yellow Springs water. Even souls can drown. Even sages are extremely fearful of it." Upon hearing this, Xiao Ping could only give up. After all, no matter how good the treasure was, it wasn't as important as his life. Swoosh! The stars quickly passed through this area and arrived at another area. Immediately, countless sabers and swords seemed to appear in this area, condensing into a metallic aura and turning into a mountain of sabers and a sea of swords. As soon as the stars approached, it was immediately bombarded by 10,000 swords. It was as if it was being attacked by hundreds of thousands of sword-down masters. Clanging sounds rang out, wanting to destroy the stars. Fortunately, the stars was extremely tough. Even the attacks of sages would find it difficult to destroy it. Otherwise, it would definitely be penetrated by these metallic auras. Such rich golden gung chi. This is simply a metal world. Corinne exclaimed again and again. He increasingly felt that the dragon sage who built this true dragon nest was extremely terrifying. He reckoned that such a realm had surpassed his old master back then and had at least reached the realm of an invincible sage. Fortunately, there were no traces of the dragon sage in this place. Otherwise, they would have been blasted to smithereens the moment they entered. We're finally here. Chapter 1310. In the depths of the draconic god-forbidden ground, in a palace. How boring. I'm already sick of eating 1,000-year-old ginseng. Is there nothing else to eat? Chu Rong lazily laid on the ground. Her pair of fair and tender legs were swinging subconsciously. She was chewing on 1,000-year-old ginseng as if she was nibbling on a carrot, not cherishing it at all. After a year of training and advancing to the Purple Mansion realm, her body had undergone a complete transformation. Her long legs were astonishingly long, and her waist was slender and slender. Especially her skin, which was smooth and delicate without any scars. It was as if she was a newborn baby. How can there be anything to eat in this godforsaken place? It's all vegetables and fruits. There isn't even a piece of meat. Yuchichi said in a bad mood. She was also lying on a wooden bed without a care for her image. Her clothes were torn apart, revealing her impressive figure. This figure seemed to have become more and more voluptuous, to the point that it was a little excessive. Perhaps even an international model could not compare to this. It made one's blood boil. If it was during normal times, she would definitely not do such an undignified behavior. But surrounded by women, she did not care about her image and did not have the airs of a mermaid princess. With a smack, she immediately grabbed a scarlet spirit fruit from the basket and ate it fiercely. Instantly, an enchanting fragrance pervaded the air. If others were to see Yuchichi eating like this, their eyes would definitely turn green. Because this scarlet spirit fruit was the famous dragon blood fruit. Consuming one would save at least 10 years of cultivation, and it could even temper the physique and raise the aptitude. Its value was astonishing. But now, it was actually eaten by Yuchichi like an apple. It was truly a waste. But in the draconic god-forbidden ground, such a spirit fruit was just an ordinary spirit fruit, not worth mentioning. I really missed the purple potato pudding, strawberry cake, chocolate chips, and other snacks. Now that there's nothing left, how can I get out of this godforsaken place? The one who spoke was Suji. Her voice was extremely charming and seemed to contain a mysterious power. Any male animal that heard this voice could not help but have a reaction. After bathing in dragon blood and consuming a large amount of spirit herbs, she broke through to the purple mansion realm, completely activating the bloodline in her body. Her aptitude was also raised to an unprecedented level. This caused her physique to undergo an earth-shattering change. It was as if she had evolved into a great and charming beauty. She was a little like a fox spirit that had attained immortality. She was astonishingly charming. However, she was surrounded by beauties of the same level as her, so none of them were attracted to her. They had long since gotten used to it. However, it was precisely this kind of great beauty that when she thought about the food she ate in the past, she immediately began to drool. She did not care about her image at all, because she had not been able to leave this place for an entire year. She had been eating all kinds of spiritual medicines and fruits in this forbidden area. Although these spirit medicines and spirit fruits were very precious, if one ate too many of them, one would eventually get sick of them. She was dying to eat something else. Based on the current situation, unless we break through to a higher level and break through the restrictive arrays here, we'll be trapped here for the rest of our lives. Jiang Yaru walked in from the entrance of the hall. She had just finished cultivating. At this moment, her body was emitting a pure and holy light, as if she was the holy maiden of an ancient sect. After a year of tempering, her temperament had also become extraordinary, reaching a transcendent realm. She was like a fairy that had transcended the mortal world and was extremely enchanting. It was just that she was wearing very few clothes now, and they were all tattered. If any man were to see this scene, they would probably have a nosebleed. The reason for this situation wasn't because she was an exhibitionist. It was just that they had unintentionally fallen into the true dragon nest, and they did not have anything on them, including their clothes. One could imagine that after a year, they were only wearing a single piece of clothing. Apart from that, they had nothing else. As a result, their clothes became tattered after a year of wearing them. If not for the fact that they were extremely careful and cherished their clothes, they would probably be like primitive people right now, using lotus leaves to wrap their bodies. Damn it, I've clearly broken through to the Purple Palace realm and become a king, but I was planning to appear in front of that bastard Xia Ping and enjoy the worship of tens of thousands of people at the same time. Yuchi gritted her teeth in anger. I didn't expect to be trapped in this godforsaken place. No matter how hard I try, I can't get out. Is this the so-called heaven is jealous of geniuses? As the saying went, not returning to one's hometown after becoming rich was like wearing silk clothes at night. Since she was already a king, why didn't she go back to the cloud world to show off and intimidate the small fry? How could she be worthy of her hard work in cultivation? Of course, she also wanted to scare that cocky human Xiaoping, who asked him to be so cocky in front of her all day long, boasting that he was some kind of rare genius. Now that she, Yuchi, had also broken through to the Purple Palace realm and became a king, her strength had increased greatly. She had also caught up to this human's footsteps and was not inferior to him at all. Although a year had passed, and the human had more or less improved, the improvement was probably limited. He was definitely still lingering at the Purple Palace realm and was unable to advance to a higher realm. In fact, there were demon kings that were stuck at the Purple Palace realm for hundreds of years, and it wasn't strange at all. Besides, it's impossible to get out. Chu Rong sighed. Unless some unknown upheaval happened in this forbidden ground, we can only obediently stay in this place. In fact, during this year, they have been constantly searching for ways to get out, but they couldn't find a way to leave this place no matter how hard they tried. As time passed, they also gave up. Indeed, this forbidden ground is too mysterious. It is the place where the true dragon resides. With our strength, it's impossible to break the restriction here. We are simply too insignificant. Suji sighed. From this place, it could be seen that there were restriction formations everywhere, and the power contained within them was enough to easily turn a king into ashes. This was the work of a true, almighty existence. An existence like this was simply unfathomable to them. Wait, do you guys hear something? All of a sudden, Jiang Yaru looked outside with a solemn expression on her face. Indeed, there is a sound. It seems like a rumbling sound. Could it be that something triggered the restriction formation? No, maybe someone broke into this place. Are you joking? Don't you know how terrifying the restriction formation is? How could someone break in? Nothing is impossible. Since that almighty existence set up this restriction formation, it might be to prevent such a strong enemy from invading. It means that someone can break it. If someone broke in, it might be our chance to leave this place. It's better to be careful. We don't know if that person is a friend or foe. If it's an enemy, we're dead for sure. No matter what, it's better to go and take a look. Otherwise, we won't be able to leave this place and will die of old age. Chapter 13:11. Boom! When Chu Rong, Jiang Yaru, Yu Chi-Chi, and Su Ji arrived outside the palace, they immediately saw an astonishing scene. A huge flying ship flew out from the depths of the restrictive array formation. The restrictive array formation immediately erupted with terrifying power. It was either the bombardment of lightning, the burning of raging flames, or the impact of a flood. The power was boundless, even more terrifying than a nuclear bomb. However, to the flying ship, these powers were simply like mosquito bites. The flying ship didn't receive any damage, and it barged in unscathed. Boom! In the next second, the flying ship passed through the restrictive array formation and directly arrived at a vast open space outside the palace. Its entire body emitted a divine aura, making it unfathomable. What kind of flying ship is this? Could it be an alien flying ship? Chu Rong, Jiang Yaru, Yu Chi-Chi, and Su Ji all blinked their eyes, curiously looking at the flying ship. They could be considered to have seen many flying ships in the human world, but they had never seen a flying ship with such astonishing defensive power. To be able to withstand such a terrifying attack and still not receive any damage, it could be imagined that the defensive power of this flying ship was absolutely not something a human ship could compare to. Although they didn't have any proof, they all thought so in their hearts. I hope it's a friend and not an enemy. If it's an enemy, perhaps we should prepare early. Chu Rong, Jiang Yaru, Yu Chi-Chi, and Su Ji looked at each other. It wasn't that they didn't do anything in the past year in this forbidden area. They had already explored 70 to 80% of this place and knew of many restrictive array formations in this place. If the other party was an enemy, they would immediately activate the restrictive array formations, making the other party unable to bear the consequences. At most, they would perish together. Ha! The cabin door opened, and a figure flew down from above, landing on the ground just like that. Xiaoping. Seeing this familiar figure, Chu Rong, Jiang Yaru, Yu Chi-Chi, and Su Ji all exclaimed at the same time. Clearly, they recognized this man's true identity. However, they couldn't help but rub their eyes, not daring to believe it. After all, the probability of Xiaoping coming to this forbidden area was extremely low. It was like a pie falling from the sky. I didn't expect to be so welcomed. Nice clothes. Xiaoping rubbed his chin as he sized up Chu Rong, Jiang Yaru, Yu Chi-Chi, and Su Ji, and clicked his tongue in admiration. He felt that after not seeing them for a year, the four women seemed to have undergone a huge change. Chu Rong's legs seemed to have grown longer, Yu Chi-Chi's figure seemed to have become even hotter, Su Ji seemed to have become incomparably charming, and Jiang Yaru had also become extremely pure and lovely, causing one to drool over them. He had to admit that they all exuded boundless charm. Ro, Seilang, Bastard, Beast. Chu Rong, Jiang Yaru, Yu Chi-Chi, and Su Ji's faces instantly turned red. They couldn't help but spit at Xiaoping. They had also noticed their own indiscretions. All of them were at a loss of what to do, and they covered their bodies with their hands. But no matter how they tried, they were unable to cover everything, and this caused them to feel even more ashamed and annoyed, because they didn't expect to meet a man at this time and place. What's there to be shy about? It's not like I've never seen it before, Xiaoping said carelessly. Chu Rong, Jiang Yaru, Yu Chi-Chi, and Su Ji's faces turned even redder, wishing that they could bite this rogue to death. When they thought about it carefully, they realized that their bodies had more or less been seen by this rogue. Chu Rong recalled the first time she met Xiaoping. It was during the competition in the dojo. At that time, she had been hugged by this man while naked and was even taken away by him in front of everyone. Su Ji gritted her teeth. Back in the Evil Corpse Mountain range, this rogue had peeped at her and seen her body from top to bottom, as well as a bunch of beautiful sisters. Yuchichi's face turned red. Clearly, she remembered that time in the Shark Demon King's palace. This bastard had shamelessly barged into the hot spring like a bandit while she was bathing. Jiang Yaru was so embarrassed that smoke was coming out her head. She and Xiaoping were childhood sweethearts and had a very good relationship when they were young. They had even bathed together before, and the two of them were innocent. Although these were all childhood matters, when it came to haggling over it, his words weren't wrong either. Cut the crap, big rogue. Do you have any clothes on you? Hurry up and hand them over. Chu Rong, Jiang Yaru, Yuchichi, and Su Ji all fiercely glared at Xiaoping. I don't. Why would I have something like that on me? Xiaoping rolled his eyes. He wanted to continue enjoying the scenery. So how could he stupidly take out his clothes? Liar. Hand over your clothes. How could Chu Rong, Jiang Yaru, Yuchichi, and Su Ji believe Xiaoping's words? This rogue was definitely doing it on purpose. His goal was to see them make a fool out of themselves. As soon as they finished speaking, they immediately made their move, wanting to capture Xiaoping. Making a move against me? Looks like not only have you gotten more ambitious, you've also gotten more daring. Xiaoping said with a beaming smile. Bah, rogue. Let's see if you can still be so cocky after we capture you. That's right. We didn't waste this year either. Yes, you're no longer our match. Just give up. Chu Rong, Jiang Yaru, Yuchichi, and Su Ji were brimming with confidence. After advancing to the Purple Palace realm, they believed that no matter how monstrous Xiaoping was, he wouldn't be able to stop the four of them. Their figures flickered, leaving behind afterimages in their original positions with extreme speed. These figures were like foxes, leopards, eagles, and rabbits, all emitting an extremely powerful aura. It was obvious that their bodies had been tempered by a large amount of spirit herbs and dragon blood. The magic energy in their bodies was more than 10 times denser than an ordinary person. The power that they could burst out with was definitely not something that an ordinary person could compare with. But in Xiaoping's eyes, such speed was no different from a tortoise. He stood in his original position without moving a single step. In fact, he only stretched out a single finger. The four of them displayed all of their skills. Every punch and kick contained immense power. It was like the rumbling of cannons, and it was also like the fight of a true dragon. The power was boundless. Dong, dong, dong. But no matter how they attacked or what martial skills they executed, they were all blocked by Xiaoping's finger. The immense power turned into nothingness, like a drop of water merging into the ocean, unable to cause any ripples. After fighting for 10 minutes, Xiaoping still didn't move an inch. On the other hand, Chu Rong, Jiang Yaru, Yuchichi, and Su Ji were gasping for breath as they collapsed on the ground, drenched in sweat. In a short 10 minutes of all-out combat, they had exhausted all their magic energy and were no longer able to continue fighting. Impossible. It has only been a year. How can the gap be so big? That's right. Didn't you just advance to the Purple Palace realm? With the four of them working together, you actually only used a single finger? This is too much. You are simply bullying us. Shameless. Chu Rong, Jiang Yaru, Yuchichi, and Su Ji simply couldn't believe it. They thought that after a year of cultivation, even if they couldn't compare to Xiaoping, they should be able to shorten the gap between them. They didn't expect that the gap would become even bigger. A single finger was enough to crush the four of them. This made them extremely angry as they felt that he was looking down on them. Purple Palace realm? That is already in the past. I have long advanced to the divine realm. Xiaoping let out a faint smile. What? Chapter 13:12. An hour later, after a round of negotiations, Chu Rong and the others exchanged the secret of this place for Xiaoping's help. Xiaoping took out a few sets of clothes from his spatial ring for them to wear. However, they were still fuming and wanted nothing more than to take a bite out of Xiaoping. You actually reached the transcendent realm? What kind of medicine did you take, you freak? Even now, Yu Qiqi still couldn't believe that Xiaoping had reached the transcendent realm. One had to know that in the mermaid race's tens of thousands of years of history, no mermaid had ever reached the transcendent realm from the Violet Palace realm within a year. Even she, the mermaid monarch, who was known as a once-in-a-thousand-years genius of the human race, wasn't this abnormal. It could be said that Xiaoping's cultivation speed had far exceeded her imagination. The universe is vast, and the heavenly realm is but a tiny place. Xiaoping smiled and said that he had long since left the heavenly realm for the universe, joined a saint-level sect, and even became a disciple of a saint. Hearing this, Chu Rong, Jiang Yaru, Yu Qiqi, and Su Ji were speechless. They couldn't say anything. They were still in the sky realm, but the other party had already rushed out of the universe. From the perspective of the situation, there was no way they could compare. It was no wonder that they couldn't beat this freak even after such a shocking encounter. All right, what secret does this place have? Xiaoping asked curiously. There's no secret, just a lot of spirit herbs and spirit fruits. Eat as much as you want. Chu Rong said carelessly, pointing to a nearby herb garden. There were 100 acres of spirit herbs growing there, and the spiritual energy was extremely dense. The four of them probably wouldn't be able to finish all of these spirit herbs in 10 years. Xiaoping also looked over and sighed inwardly. These girls were extremely lucky to have such a large herb garden with spirit herbs to eat. Who knew how many people would be envious and jealous of them? Even the disciples of the Qinquan sect would be jealous if they saw this scene. After all, these spirit herbs were rare, even in the universe, and required a lot of cosmic dollars. Right, there's also a dragon blood pool. You can bathe in it every night. It's very good for your body. Yu Qiqi pointed to a palace in another direction, indicating that there was a bathroom there. Dragon blood pool. Xiaoping walked over to take a look and immediately found a pool that was the size of 10 ordinary swimming pools. It contained scarlet dragon blood and gave off boiling heat. It was like lava and continuously bubbled. He could sense how terrifying the energy contained in this pool of dragon blood was. If an ordinary person were to absorb a little, their entire body would explode. Moreover, it could also improve one's aptitude and temper one's physique. Vaguely, he seemed to see a true dragon lying dormant in the depths of the pool. One could imagine how precious this pool of dragon blood was. Who knew how many cultivators would go crazy over it if it was taken out? Great benefits. Xiaoping's eyes lit up. The golden crow of hell bloodline in his body was stirring. If he could absorb the dragon blood, not only would he be able to activate the golden crow of hell bloodline in his body, but he would also be able to increase his magic power. With this pool of dragon blood, it would not be difficult for him to advance to the treasure refining realm. However, the most mysterious thing about this place is that small palace. That place seems to be a laboratory. There are documents everywhere, but we can't see what's written in those documents. Jiang Yaru said in a deep voice as he pointed to a room in the deepest part of the palace. Xiaoping looked over. The room was very small and made of stone. However, it was stained with the aura of a true dragon. It seemed that a powerful being had once lived in this place. Laboratory. Thinking of this, Xiaoping walked over and opened the door of the room. Immediately, he saw the appearance of the room. It looked very ordinary. There was a bed, a chair, and a desk. The desk was covered with papers and documents. However, this paper was not ordinary paper. It was dragon bass paper. It was made from the skin of a true dragon. It would not decay even after millions of years. It was priceless. Normally, dragon bass paper was used to record precious information and immortal skills. However, this kind of dragon bass paper was piled up like a small mountain. It was not stingy at all. What kind of words are these? Xiaoping walked over and opened it. He saw many strange symbols and words on the dragon bass paper. However, he could not recognize a single word. It was not the language of the humans in the cloud realm. nor was it the universal language. This is the language of the dragon race, Corinne said. It was written by the true dragon who once lived in this place. He had followed the sect master of the Stars sect for many years and had also seen the language of the dragon race. What is written on it? Xiaoping asked curiously. I don't know. The language of the dragon race is a unique inheritance of the true dragon. It is one of the secrets of the race. Ordinary people have no way to learn it. Even the sect master didn't understand it. Corinne shook his head, indicating that he didn't understand it either. Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. Even the knowledgeable Corinne didn't understand it. It seemed that it could only be the help system. System, can you translate the information on these dragon bass papers? Xiaoping asked the system. The system said, this is simple. Translation requires 10 million hatred points. Translate, Xiaoping immediately said. He was very curious about the information here. Anyway, 10 million hatred points was not much. Rumble. As soon as the voice fell, a stream of information immediately poured into Xiaoping's mind. On the first day of the experiment, my luck was really good. I didn't expect to find such a hidden secret realm in this remote corner of the universe. It seems that I can hide for a period of time without being disturbed. The experiment lasted for 30 days. After a month of preparation, hundreds of thousands of races were captured from all over the universe. The experiment can finally begin. I hope this experiment will not disappoint me. The experiment lasted for 3 months. All the major races have been injected with dragon blood, so that these races have dragon race bloodline. However, some weak races couldn't withstand the tyranny of dragon blood, and as a result, they exploded and died. But the human race is really a race with great potential. Their bodies are weak, but they can fuse with different bloodlines. They can even withstand dragon blood. It seems that I have to increase the dosage. In the 3rd year of the experiment went very smoothly. Although many creatures died, the situation of these creatures that fused with dragon bloodlines stabilized and began to reproduce. However, they're still in a primitive state and have not formed a civilization. The experiment lasted for 100 years, and the reproduction was very smooth. The population of creatures with dragon bloodline has exceeded 10 million, and they have also begun to form tribes. It is estimated that it will not take long for a country to be formed. The experiment lasted for 1,000 years. Life is really wonderful. I didn't expect that such a situation would occur when the bloodlines are mixed. There are dragon human race, dragon rabbit race, dragon bull race, and so on. The genes have mutated and become more powerful. It seems that the dragon gene still contains many secrets. Maybe I can get a glimpse of the secret of becoming a god from it. The experiment lasted for 3,000 years. The funds are spent like water. Why can't money be spent? If there is no money, how can I do experiments? How can I do scientific research? A penny can kill a dragon. Should I rob a few human planets, or rob a saint-level sect, or blackmail a few ancient families? Those forces seem to be very rich. Well, forget it. I believe that for the great cause of this dragon, they should be happy to sponsor. The experiment lasted for 10,000 years. After robbing a few big families, I finally gathered a lot of money. The experiment is going well, but it seems that I caused too much of a commotion and was discovered by a few old farts of the dragon race. The experiment lasted for 30,000 years. Damn it. Those old farts of the dragon race finally discovered this place. They are really stupid and pedantic. Don't they understand how great of a cause this is? Science is the #1 productive force. How dare they stop this dragon, saying that this is taboo? They really deserve to die. They should be thrown into purgatory and burned for 100,000 years. However, it seems that I can't stay in this place anymore. Otherwise, I will definitely be annoyed to death by them. Chapter 13:13. Master, could it be that you understand the information on it? Green Ox saw Xiaoping's expression and could not help but ask curiously. Corinne also saw it, but he was extremely puzzled. This was the language of the dragon race. Even his old master did not understand it. How did a native like Xiaoping understand it? It was too strange. Yes, I understand it. It seems to be left behind by the dragon scientist Titania. Xiaoping said. He secretly sighed. He did not expect the Dragonborn on this dragon god continent and other monsters with dragon blood to be the work of this dragon scientist Titania. And the humans on this continent, perhaps after Titania's genetic modification, were no longer ordinary humans. No wonder their strength, speed, and recovery were so extraordinary that ordinary humans could not compare to them. Moreover, this continent was only Titania's experimental field. What did you say? Titania? Hearing this, Corinne and Azure Ox's complexion greatly changed. They were startled and shocked again and again. What? Do you know this name? Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. Corinne was shocked. Yes, who doesn't know this mad dragon scientist? Her evil deeds have long been known throughout the universe. She is 9th on the universe's wanted list, the most evil dragon scientist in history. It is said that for the sake of her experiments, she has done countless evil deeds. She has destroyed billions of human countries and captured hundreds of millions of races. She even dared to capture saints. Compared to Titania, that Saint Bloodsoul is simply a child. His crimes can be ignored. Because of her many evil deeds, the dragon race had no choice but to banish this monster of the dragon race. She was listed as an eternal enemy and must be killed without mercy. Even the saints of the entire universe joined forces to put a bounty on Titania's head. The saints said that whoever can kill Titania will receive a promise from the saints. They can get anything they want. Even if they want to become a saint, countless saints will do their best to help them. It revealed the information it knew. That's right. She became famous in ancient times and would commit crazy crimes every once in a while. The most shocking thing is that even though she has done so many evil deeds and is being hunted by countless saints, she has not been arrested and is still alive and kicking. Green Ox was also very emotional. It wasn't strange for evil people to do bad things, but it was terrifying for them to be alive and kicking after being hunted down by countless people without any signs of death. In that case, we've come to an incredible place. Xiaoping touched his chin. Of course, I didn't expect to come to one of Titania's experimental bases. Fortunately, she is not here, otherwise we would all be finished. Maybe we would become her experimental subjects, living a life worse than death. It is said that she can even play with the dead and has done countless terrifying experiments. Both Azure Ox and Corinne sucked in a cold breath, rejoicing. They knew that Titania's research bases were spread across the universe, but every one of them was extremely dangerous. They might even contain secrets that could destroy the universe. In such a dangerous place, not to mention the current them, even their master would not dare to provoke this mad scientist of the dragon race when he was at his peak. After all, he had a record of capturing saints. Once he was targeted, there was no way to escape. If I report this base, will I be rewarded by the sage? Xiaoping asked. Corinne shook his head repeatedly. Don't do such a thing. It's best to pretend that nothing happened. That's right. What's a little reward from the sage? If Titania targets you, it'll be a narrow escape. The loss outweighs the gain. Azure Ox also agreed with Corinne's words. This was the first time they had reached such a unanimous opinion. All right, forget it then. Xiaoping nodded. With his current strength, if he provoked that mad scientist of the dragon race, he didn't know how much trouble he would get into. It was better not to act rashly. He searched the rest of the room, but did not find any treasures, so he left for the dragon blood pool. Because he wanted to use the power of the dragon blood pool to step into the treasure refining realm in one fell swoop. At this moment, in the depths of the distant universe, in a space hidden in the depths of a dimension. A beautiful, domineering woman woke up. She was wearing a white coat and had a pair of beautiful horns on her head. She had a head of black hair that fell like a waterfall, directly covering her thighs. Her figure was extremely voluptuous, with curves in all the right places. Such a figure was enough to make countless men's imaginations roam. Strange, what awakened this dragon? Could it be that one of my laboratories was invaded by an enemy? This domineering woman stretched and yawned. Her proud parts trembled a little. There was an amazing curve, and she was extremely flirtatious. Her slender white fingers lightly tapped the void. Suddenly, Ripples appeared in the space like water. A mysterious and terrifying power permeated the entire universe, connecting her laboratories everywhere in the universe. However, when this mysterious power came to the Dragon God continent, it was blocked by a mysterious power with a thud, making her power unable to penetrate it. Interesting, it can actually stop this dragon Titania's prying. What kind of existence is it? Suddenly, her beautiful eyes shone like stars, as if there were black holes spinning in the depths of her pupils. They were unfathomable. The entire space was trembling as if it could not withstand the aura emanating from her body. The space was about to collapse from the pressure, making cracking sounds. This aura even spread for hundreds of light years. Countless planets were trembling as if they were about to collapse. Suddenly, this power seemed to alarm the sages everywhere in the universe. They all woke up and looked down. Those old farts are still alive. Sensing some familiar gazes, Titania immediately withdrew her power and hid in the void. She did not make a sound and was not discovered by the other sages. She was still in a weak state, so she could not unleash her full combat power. If she was discovered by the other sages, especially those old farts of the dragon race, she would probably be in big trouble. It was better not to act rashly at this time. Forget it, I'll sleep for a while before waking up. That laboratory is not that big of a deal. If you want to take it, then take it. Titania stretched out her hand and yawned. She lay on the bed again and began to sleep. Because of the previous battle, she was too heavily injured. Now, she only woke up for a moment. Then, she could not resist the feeling of freedom coming from her body, so she continued to sleep. Chapter 13-14. Dragon Blood Pool. At this moment, Xia Ping was sitting cross-legged in the middle of the pool. Whoosh! He activated the pure yang immortal incantation, and the pores in his body swallowed like giant beasts. Large amounts of dragon blood flowed through the pores and rushed into his limbs and bones. So hot! Suddenly, Xia Ping felt an extremely hot energy rush into his body. It was as if he was being burned by dragon fire, and his meridians were flowing with lava. His whole body was about to be burned. If an ordinary warrior dared to swallow dragon blood like this, it would only take a second for the domineering power of the dragon blood to completely devour them and burn them to ashes. Dragon blood was good, but not everyone could enjoy it. Of course, for Xia Ping, who had formed the Golden Crow Hell body, the domineering power of the dragon blood was nothing. Once it entered his body, it was immediately swallowed by the Golden Crow Hell bloodline. After entering his body, the dragon blood seemed to have a mind of its own. It transformed into small red dragons that swam in Xia Ping's supreme blood vessels and meridians. Counting carefully, there were millions of such small red dragons. As Xia Ping activated the pure yang immortal incantation, the Golden Crow Hell bloodline in his body vibrated, and the shadow of the Golden Crow of Hell formed in his body. It roared at the sky and swallowed the small red dragons into its stomach. What a rich energy! Xia Ping felt that after swallowing the dragon blood energy, the magic power in the depths of his purple palace increased wildly. In a short while, the vast purple palace space was occupied by the liquid magic power, reaching the perfect realm. The perfect realm of the mystic realm. He immediately knew that he had reached the perfect realm of the mystic realm. He was just one step away from stepping into the treasure-refining realm and comprehending the power of the heaven and earth formation. Normally, even if his magic power reached the perfect realm, he would not be able to break through to the treasure-refining realm in a short time. But when he fought with the 6 Dragon Man Emperors, he had many insights. He felt the vast power of the heaven and earth formation and the mystery of the treasure-refining realm using the power of the world. This gave Xia Ping a great feeling and also made him come into contact with a higher level of power. Comprehend the world. Xia Ping closed his eyes, and the power of his divine sense filled the surroundings. He felt the power of the world and wanted to communicate with the power of the world. Immediately, his spiritual consciousness could see that there were many meridians in the world. These meridians intertwined with each other and formed the heaven and earth array. However, these meridians were faintly discernible. To successfully comprehend them and completely comprehend them was not something that could be done in a short period of time. No wonder it's so difficult to break through to the artifact refinement realm. Even the dragon human race, which is an outstanding race and has the help of many elixirs, only has 6 dragon people who want to become emperor-level experts. Xia Ping had a trace of enlightenment. If he wanted to advance to the artifact refining realm, not only did his magic power have to reach the realm of perfection, his divine sense also had to be strong enough. Otherwise, he wouldn't even be able to sense the heaven and earth array. So how would he be able to smelt the array deep within his body? Even if the 2 powers of magic power and spiritual sense had reached perfection, if he wanted to comprehend the grand array, he would need to slowly comprehend it. It would take at least half a year before he could truly comprehend the heaven and earth array. Wait, the world tree. Xia Ping planned to spend half a year to slowly comprehend it. But suddenly, the world tree in the depths of his Zifu space trembled, causing his spiritual consciousness to subconsciously seep into it. Rumble! Suddenly, he felt his soul shake, as if it had been possessed, and entered the body of the world tree. Immediately, Xia Ping sensed that the roots of the world tree had taken root in the endless space-time, and the roots seemed to communicate with the endless dimensions of the universe, absorbing the energy of the universe. With the perception of the world tree, he felt that the heaven and earth array had become extremely clear. If before, the heaven and earth array was like a peerless beauty wearing clothes, and he could only see her appearance, but not her essence, then now it was like a beauty without clothes, and he could see everything, big and small. Originally, it would have taken him half a year to comprehend, but now, he understood it clearly in an instant. It was as if there was an answer directly next to him, and he didn't need to think at all. He just had to copy it. This is amazing. Xia Ping sighed. He sat on the ground, but his soul was traveling with the world tree through space-time, as if his soul had left his body, as if he had experienced a wonderful time travel. This also gave him a better understanding of the heaven and earth array. Dong! Just then, a strand of chaotic aura was captured by Xia Ping's consciousness from the depths of the space. It was forcibly pulled into the roots of the world tree, and then poured into the violet kingdom. Instantly, his violet kingdom underwent an earth-shattering change. It was as if some bottleneck had been broken, and the entire violet kingdom had expanded by many times. At the same time, the mana in the violet kingdom also underwent an earth-shattering change. It turned into a whirlpool, like a nebula, and kept spinning. Talismans of divine abilities also appeared in the Purple Palace realm, and they flickered like stars. Rumble, after who knew how long, these magical talismans underwent earth-shattering changes. They immediately turned into whirlpools, and these whirlpools were matrices condensed from mana. The treasure refinement realm. At this moment, Xia Ping finally broke through the limits of the immortal realm and stepped into the treasure refinement realm. He understood the power of the heaven and earth array. From now on, he could be considered a true little master in the universe. He could control the heaven and earth array, attack enemies, and be invincible. If he could get a lot of natural treasures, he could refine all kinds of powerful magic treasures. On a primitive planet, a treasure refinement realm cultivator would be a god, an immortal of the earth. But this was just the beginning. Transforming the magical talismans into a heaven and earth array was only considered to have broken through the limits of the immortal realm. Only when the heaven and earth array was completely integrated into his body could he be considered to have truly stepped into the treasure refinement realm. Integrate. Xia Ping's eyes flashed. He immediately poured the mana whirlpools in the depths of his violet kingdom into his body. The sun god fist condensed into a large array and immediately integrated into the depths of his heart. This large array seemed to communicate with the pure yang power of the heaven and earth, turning his heart into magma, and the power of the flames skyrocketed. The power of the 5 types of flames in his body also quickly integrated into his heart. What a powerful force! Xiaoping clenched his fists. He felt that his body's strength had greatly increased, and he could control the flames more easily. It was as if he was the ruler of the flames. But this was just the beginning. The star guiding art also condensed into a large array, and it quickly covered his entire body. It was integrated into every acupoint in his body, as if there was a star living in each acupoint. These stars emitted a blue light. If someone could see through them, they would immediately see that these stars seemed to form a star array, communicating with the power of the stars in the outer realm. Chapter 13:15. Xiaoping operated the pure, yang, immortal secret art, and his pores were breathing like whales, constantly devouring the power of the dragon blood, and the dragon blood in this dragon blood pool was rapidly decreasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Because condensing the divine ability array requires a lot of energy, if the energy is insufficient, the condensation will fail. Fortunately, there's a pool of dragon blood here, which contains a huge amount of energy, and it is enough for him to condense the divine ability array in his body without worrying about energy exhaustion. Rumble, as the dragon blood integrated into his body, a large amount of energy poured in and transformed into spiritual power. In the depths of Xiaoping's purple mansion space, a group of spiritual power array quickly condensed and turned into a spiritual power vortex. Kuin Peng Steps held Demon Suppression Spear, Heavenly Dragon 8 Music, Lion Vajra Seal, Black Vortex Ripple Fist, Azure Dharch Longevity Art, Heart Telepathy Art, Great Yin Yang Tablet Breaking Hand, Nailhead 7 Arrows Art, Dark North Body Protection Art, and other cultivation techniques immediately condensed into a large array. The process of condensing the divine ability array was very simple. It was like a natural process, but this kind of thing would only happen when the foundation was perfect. If it was an ordinary cultivator, they would have to worry about the condensation failure all the time, causing the purple mansion to be damaged. Integrate. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a glimmer of light, and the depths of his pupils contained a spiritual power vortex. The entire purple mansion space turned into a sea, with countless whirlpools flowing quickly. After a few breaths, these heaven and earth arrays turned into patterns and suddenly entered his heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and stomach, integrating into every part of his body, enhancing his physical strength. Suddenly, Xiaoping felt that his body had undergone earth-shaking changes. These divine ability arrays integrated into his body, and countless spiritual power rushed into his body, fusing with the muscle texture. His life essence was also constantly improving. The power of his spiritual sense increased, and the purple mansion space expanded. Most importantly, his body's lifespan was also doubled than before. Treasure refining realm, the body integrated with the heaven and earth array. Such a change was no small matter. What a powerful physique! Xiaoping closed his eyes and felt that his heart had integrated with a large array and immediately became strong and powerful, constantly beating. And every time the heart beat, the trembling sound seemed to be able to shatter steel. His lungs were breathing like a dragon roaring, swallowing the air, and every wisp of air could turn into a sharp blade, shooting out and instantly piercing a mountain. His stomach was wriggling like a sun furnace. There was a fire burning, and anything that fell into the stomach would be devoured in a few breaths. In addition, other body parts had also undergone great changes. Dark North Body Protection Art condensed into a Kuin Peng array, integrated into every inch of his skin, and a complex array appeared on his skin, refining every inch of his skin to be as tough as dragon skin, seeming to contain mysterious energy. The Azure Dharch Longevity Art condensed into the pattern of a tree and merged with every meridian in his body. The roots of the tree seemed to have turned into blood vessels, absorbing the wood elemental energy in the air and greatly increasing his body's resilience, endurance, and vitality. These martial path mystiques, each of which was condensed into an array and integrated into his body, had great benefits for his body. This also allowed Xiaoping's body to evolve towards a monstrous physique. Array Ping's body Tao of Qi. Realm. Xiaoping clenched his fists and integrated the heaven and earth array into his body. It was not as simple as being able to control the power of heaven and earth, but also to completely integrate the spiritual power into every part of the body, causing the physical body to evolve. He could sense that there were many array patterns in the depths of his body. These were all great arrays condensed by martial arts magical powers. They were completely integrated into the body, resonating with the physical body, and the physical body became extremely powerful. It could be said that even if he only used the power of his body, it was enough to easily defeat him before he broke through. The speed of cultivation is also faster. Xiaoping breathed slowly. After smelting the divine art arrays in his body, it was as if he had built a spirit-gathering array in his body. Even if he didn't use his cultivation method, the qi of heaven and earth quickly gathered in his body, penetrated into the Zifu space through the pores, and then quickly refined into spiritual power. This was simply like installing a cultivation accelerator in the body. This was the terrifying part of the refining treasure realm. The speed of cultivation was more than several times that of the divine power realm. Even in sleep, the cultivator of the refining treasure realm could cultivate at all times. It's really mysterious. Xiaoping sat on the ground with his legs crossed. His consciousness spread out and fused with the void. He had stepped into the state of being one with the world and had become one with the world. He could feel the power of the world within the world. It was as if with just a single thought of his, he could activate the energy of the world and unleash a power that could topple mountains and overturn seas. All of a sudden, Xiaoping pointed out gently, and a small array formed on his fingertip. An endless amount of heaven and earth power gathered at his fingertip. Boundless energy condensed and burst out instantly. Dong! A wall in the distance was pierced through, creating a huge hole. The surrounding rocks were shattered into pieces. However, this force was controlled to a perfect degree. Other than the place where it was attacked, no other places were harmed. Easy. This is way too easy. Xiaoping's face was filled with joy. If he was at the divine power realm, that attack just now would have required him to expend quite a bit of spiritual power. But now, he didn't need to do that at all. With just a single strand of strength, he could manipulate the power of the world to attack. One could say that he had used 10% of his strength to unleash 10% of his destructive power. It was as if he had found a fulcrum and a bamboo pole that was long enough to move the earth with ease. This was the terrifying aspect of the treasure refinement realm. It was not something that the divine power realm could compare with. Even if 100 divine power realm cultivators joined forces, they would not be a match for a treasure refinement realm cultivator. After all, how could a single person resist the power of the world and the power of nature? Only a monster like Xiaoping could surpass this bottleneck and challenge those of higher cultivation levels. Ordinary cultivators could not surpass this bottleneck and were firmly suppressed by their cultivation levels. Looks like I need to consolidate my cultivation for a while more. Xiaoping closed his eyes and continued to cultivate. Although he had broken through to the treasure refinement realm, he had only just broken through. He was still not very familiar with the various mysteries of the treasure refinement realm and needed to carefully comprehend them. In particular, he needed to continuously comprehend the mysteries of the various divine power formations. He estimated that he would need at least a few days to completely stabilize his cultivation in the treasure refinement realm. At the same time, the news of Xiaoping causing a ruckus in Dragon God City, killing 4 dragon human emperors, and even killing the great Emperor Caesar immediately spread throughout the entire Dragon God continent. After all, this matter was too big and too many people had seen it. Even if the dragon human race wanted to hide it, they could not. Chapter 13:16. Holy City of the Human Race. Countless human race elders and 3 human race great emperors were present at this meeting, including the city lord of the 100-mile city, Bai Lihu, General Bai Lihan, and others. I believe everyone has received the news, a human race great emperor said. A human race great emperor said, the new great emperor of the human race, Xiaoping, attacked Dragon God City not long ago and killed all 4 dragon human emperors, including the great Emperor Caesar. The remaining 2 dragon human great emperors were also severely injured, and no one knows where they are now. It is said that he also freed many human slaves. The information contained in these few sentences was too much. The human race elders and many human race generals were dumbfounded and did not know what to say. After a long while, one of the human race elders swallowed and said, "We have indeed received the news, but is it true? Are Emperor Caesar and the others really dead?" This was also the question on most of the human race elders' minds. After all, that was Emperor Caesar of the dragon human race, known as the most powerful great emperor in the history of the dragon human race. He had mastered darkness magic, and his dark space was enough to kill 3 human race great emperors. If they hadn't hidden in the holy city and relied on the holy city's array formation to barely contend with Emperor Caesar, the human race might not even have existed. But now, there was news that Emperor Caesar had been killed by a new human race great emperor. No matter how they looked at it, they felt that it was a rumor. "It is true," the human race great emperor said in a low voice. The mother of Asterisk human king said in a deep voice, "Back then, I didn't really believe this piece of news either. However, when I personally headed to the Dragon God City to check it out, I discovered that there was no one in the Dragon God City at all. As for the outside of Dragon God City, there were signs of a great battle. The destruction was shocking, and I even saw the corpses of Emperor Caesar and the other dragon human emperors. Without a doubt, they're all dead." What? The human race elders were excited. If it was any other spy who told them this news, they would be skeptical. But it was the human race great emperor who said this. Moreover, he had personally gone to investigate, which proved that the news was true. Oh my God! Bai Lihu and the others were also dumbfounded, especially Bai Lihu, because a few days ago, when Xia Ping had left 100 Mile City, he had bid farewell to him and said that he was going to Dragon God City. At that time, he had thought that Xia Ping was joking. Perhaps he had some other urgent matters to attend to. Who would have thought that this fellow had really gone to Dragon God City alone? He had even performed such earth-shattering feats, killed 4 dragon human emperors, and flattened the 2 giant cities of the dragon human race, Dragonhorn City and Dragon God City. This was far too exaggerated. He would have thought that he was dreaming if he wasn't actually attending the meeting of the human race. This is great. Now that the dragon human race has lost 4 great emperors and even the great Emperor Caesar is dead, the fate of the remaining 2 dragon human emperors is unknown and they can only hide. Doesn't that mean that the human race is the strongest? That's right. We humans now have 3 great emperors, and there's even a new great emperor who has surpassed Julius Caesar. Who in the entire dragon god continent can compete with us? Perhaps the human race can become the true overlord of the dragon god continent. Let's not talk about overlord for now. First, we should send troops to rescue the human slaves that the dragon human race has captured. They have suffered too much. Many human elders discussed animatedly, and all of them looked excited. For of the 6 mountains that had been pressing down on the human race were now gone. It was as if the United States had abolished nuclear weapons. Even if the other party still had many elite weapons, a large number of soldiers, and even aircraft carriers without nuclear weapons, how could they fight against a country with nuclear weapons? A nuclear bomb would turn any elite troop into ashes. The so-called aircraft carriers were only slightly larger coffins in the face of a nuclear bomb. Oh yes, where did great Emperor Xia go? Did he return to the holy city after killing the 4 dragon human emperors? One of the human elders asked. He wanted to welcome the most powerful human great emperor in history. No, he entered the dragon god forbidden ground and has yet to come out. The human great emperor shook his head. What? Many of the human elders were shocked. They had fought against the dragon human race for such a long time that they knew many secrets about each other. Naturally, they knew about the dragon god forbidden ground. That was the palace where the real dragon god stayed. There were terrifying restrictive formations set up inside. Even a great emperor would be turned into ashes if he entered. Even though the dragon-human race had occupied that place for tens of thousands of years, they had yet to discover any secrets. It could be said that that place was the highest secret place in the Dragon God continent. Why did great Emperor Xia enter the Dragon God forbidden ground? Doesn't he know how dangerous it is? One of the human elders asked in confusion. He felt that even a great emperor would be doomed if he entered. There's nothing we can do. That's what the great emperor thinks. One of the human great emperors sighed. He has already killed Emperor Caesar and fought 6 dragon human emperors head-on. He still managed to kill 4 and severely injure 2. His battle prowess is probably at the pinnacle of the great emperor realm. At his level, the so-called power and wealth are not even worth mentioning. The only thing that can interest such a person is the secret left behind by the dragon god. Even if it is dangerous inside, it won't stop him from entering. This is what they mean by knowing the truth in the morning. One can die in the evening without regrets. He expressed that he could somewhat understand Xia Ping's feelings. The other 2 human great emperors also nodded. If they were also at the pinnacle of the great emperor realm, they might have made the same choice as Xia Ping. What a pity. I didn't expect great Emperor Xia to enter the dragon god forbidden ground. Since ancient times, no one who entered the dragon god forbidden ground, including the great emperor realm experts, came out alive. Not a single one. Sigh. No matter what, great Emperor Xia is a hero of the human race. He should be commemorated with a monument. That's right. If it wasn't for great Emperor Xia's life-and-death struggle, the human race wouldn't have a chance to survive. Many human elders nodded. They decided to commemorate Xia Ping by erecting a longevity monument. They also wanted this event to be recorded in the history of the human race. Bai Lihu and the others were also extremely emotional. They didn't expect that a human they randomly picked up would be such a hero. He saved the human race from danger, turned the tide, and forcibly carved out a path for the human race. One day later, the 3 human great emperors declared Xia Ping to be the hero of the human race. Every human city had to build a monument and statue of Xia Ping to record his deeds. Several days later, the human race sent out an army. Together with the 3 great emperors, they attacked the cities of the dragon human race. They destroyed 108 cities in a row and rescued a large number of human slaves. They also occupied a large piece of land. Because the great emperors of the dragon human race were heavily injured, they couldn't resist the high-end combat power of the human great emperors. They were forced to retreat step by step. Until now, they were content with a corner of their territory. They kept shrinking their defensive line and were no longer able to fight against the human race.